don't cook, boys, don't cook. And I said, my mother's died and I'm staying here. I had to learn how to cook. 3 years later, I couldn't bloody cook a thing. It was Common Sense Cookery book. It was from 1917. Good on you, Goff. You really updated that one, didn't you?
Could the girls cook?
Fucking Wally. Yeah, and the girls were predatory, and there was bullying, and there was racism in there.
Or no one learned to cook?
Oh, you learned to cook. Yeah, curried eggs and rice and cooked that. Cooked, bickies and stuff. But I didn't learn real cooking until I became a hippie. There was no, I thought asparagus came out of cans. It wasn't until a hippie I discovered, like, there's a mound of asparagus spears. Wow, that is beautiful. And garlic and avocado. We never had that stuff. It was stuck in the, and that was all women running it. And like, I think people are just basically sheep-like when, you get enough people finding out about garlic. Wow, that's socially acceptable. You don't smell like a wog. Remember garlic was like, oh, you smell like a wog. Garlic saved my life when I had bloody staphylococci up at the hippie commune.
Really?
Yeah, I had this big scar there from this big volcano of a staphylococci infection, and these hippies, this black line starting to run. I was starting to get septicemia, and I couldn't get in to see a doctor, and just ate a heap of garlic. Had a couple of beers to wash it down with.
Yeah, well, see, there's some communalism there. So it's like, we need individualism, but we also need that communal.
Yeah, and how did the patriarchy let that happen? Where you could do that, where I could move to a hippie commune and walk around naked.
Why isn't it happening now? Like there's Confest, once a year, twice a year, and there's quite a few predatory types there. But I mean, most people are very cool. A lot of the men
people are lazy. They'll just let other people do their thinking for them. Even in the freak movement, you get your innovators like Mollison.
Yeah, and no one else does anything. Yeah, they're lazy.
Yeah,
and the Permaculture Village is the only active kind of group of people in the whole of Confest. Or they've got the Artists Village and the people playing music, and then the gurus. They're busy drumming up business.
And the freak movement is different to the freak movement in England. Like punks didn't like hippies in England, like just like mortal enemies. But in Australia, the hippie communes, they were letting punks on there. They're letting junkies coming on geographicals, people with tattoos, just people missing teeth with a nipple piercings with a tooth hanging off it and stuff.
Maybe that'll happen again.
Barry and Gary, from Newcastle coming up, smashing in the face and planting a dope crop, and all these criminals. They let them in. And so I think the actual freak movement had to withdraw a bit and become a bit more, to protect itself.
Did you say Barry and Gary?
Yeah.
Bazza and Gazza!
Don't fuck with them. They had these hippie parties initially. It'd be like joints going around and smell of patchouli and incense burning and playing bloody Hard Rain's Gotta Fall. Sort of got into, the Barry and Gary rolling up, missing teeth saying, just been to jail to see some of my mates. And they open up the boot and there's just like a whole pile of slabs. And you think, oh my God, this is not going to end well. And little silver foils going around. Oh my God. Hey, we've lost Maureen. But maybe we're still recording.
Yeah, we're still recording, but she's gone now.
I saw the change like that. And there were people wanting to set up something new because they just felt, we're facing imminent nuclear destruction for quite a long time, and it's got to happen. It was building up in the 80s. And so there was that hunger where people wanted to do it, and it got a bit trendy and try an alternative lifestyle, and that threat passed. So I think, and our quality of life got better. There didn't seem to be that imperative. But for me, thinking that, this is just getting to a stage of decadence and hedonism, and like you say, degeneracy, where we're spoiled and there's nothing to fight for anymore. And now they're starting on defund the police and telling the army, okay, or the Air Force, okay, if you're going to drop bombs here, make sure you don't harm women and children.
That's so hilarious. Defund the police. Where are the police?
did you see what place? It was a Minnesota where they had a couple of community councillors go out in lieu of the police, and they got shot. Because people are so dumb, they don't realise that all the people saying, when I mean defund the police, I imagine defund the police. Those people who are saying that have got police protection themselves.
Then they just say, just do whatever the criminal tells you for your own safety.
The narrative is just been totally twisted, and it's just so dishonest.
Yeah.
That like 90% of shootings are black on black. You got more chance being attacked by a black thug than you have by anybody else in America. But that is just totally dare I say whitewashed. Where no, it's the white supremacy, and the biggest threat now is the rise of white nationalism. I'm thinking, are you fucking out of your mind? Some cuck in the comments section on that first video did it. Sorry, cuck, if you're watching this, you're all right, mate, but you're a bit of a cuck, a bit of a simp. The biggest threat is right-wing national. You're kidding. When all the media, all the academia, all the entertainment, arts, culture,
the institutions,
media, did I say it? Plus all these robots, all the ones that have just been educated, because it's so easy to be cynical. I found it so easy to be cynical. I spent a lot of my life being cynical and skeptical. Okay, I was a cynical of the patriarchy, and I joined the army, and that was just like a bunch of fucking useless bureaucratic slobs there, because Vietnam had finished and Vietnam War had finished, so it was just back to running on automatic, these fat, contented cows in the army. And I think, well, I don't want to join that. Go to the hippie commune, same thing, like fat, contented, lazy cows. And, you know, nature abhors a vacuum. We stopped growing, we stopped progressing. The patriarchy was flexible to allow feminism and all this wokeness into the academia to the point where it just sat back and just let it wash over it. All the conservative cucks. Then I realised the conservative cucks, the cuck-servatives, they're all enabling this anyway, because they might make token things of trying to rescue our preserve a way of life, which is pretty good in the West. I can't think of a better time in human history that has been better. Penicillin, given women the vote, for good or ill. Women will always vote for the left for free stuff, because basically they don't want to work. They just want men to provide for them and look after them.
Yeah. I just think it's such bullshit that, you know, these people claim oppression in Australia. You know, where, you know, we literally have world-class living standards.
Well, if you don't really have an idea of the big picture, sure, you'll complain. And basically, you know, anybody who's seen Jordan Peterson, he'll just talk about taking responsibility for your own actions.
Yeah, but they oppress themselves. They're the people that are, you know, oppressing themselves. You know,
men are the majority of the taxpayers.
Yeah,
and women are the majority of the healthcare consumers. So, like, that Medicare dividend, all that tax I was paying in my jobs for the last 40 freaking years.
Their decision making
wasn't going to me.
Their decision making and, you know, their attitude is oppressing them.
Yeah, but we'll be blamed because that's what you do. And it's ironic. It's ironic, really, because they're just shitting on the goose that lies the golden egg, i.e. a whole lot of beta male providers, which I was for a long time. Oh, I've got to work. But then a part of me would go, fuck work, fuck the whole thing. But then you're so lonely, like I was saying in Fairfield, why you're not married? But I thought, I'm all right doing this. I'm all right just working part-time and, you know, playing in bands and film, because I just thought, well, I'd rather do that than have to spend 40 hours a week and paying a mortgage, because I don't like it. Usury, paying interest. I hate it. Jews and Muslims have got the idea. They don't charge each other interest in their own communities. But they will charge us, yeah. And why should you want to make a bank any richer? They're not your friend. Neither is the government. They've never been your friend. They've never been after your best interests. And Jordan Peterson's saying take responsibility. It's like, yeah, can you see things are changing now?
I mean, what an extraordinary position, eh? That you should
Can
take responsibility for yourself.
The women see. It's a bit of a shock because you just pay lip service to, oh yes, I will. I don't need no man, or need a man like a fish needs a bicycle, or what's that film I like keeping up with? Films, Bad Mums 2. I went and saw that. People say, why the fuck did you see that? And I said, because I hadn't seen Bad Mums 1, and I thought there's nothing more edifying than watching a sequel. And I watched it, and it was so fucking. It was classic.
I was about to say, because I really liked the first one. I was about to say, I really liked the first one, so I was hoping that the second wasn't, going to be like, what's it called? Last of Us or something. I think what's Last of Us. Because that they did like a really good first one. I didn't see it, but I heard the first one, was really well liked. Really successful. Had a really good plot, and then the second, they turned feminist. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, most sequels are duds. I know, like Bad Santa 2. I didn't see that, but
so it's good to know.
I thought just plunge into it.
Yeah, that's good. That
just see what's happening.
Yeah,
and I love it. It's that the modern woman. The modern woman. She's so frazzled. Single mum, soy boy for her ex-husband, or some beta male, or cuck, or whatever.
Oh, the first one was hilarious. That was so funny. She caught him masturbating to a girl that he was webcamming with, and she was a dairy farmer. It was so funny.
I might have seen number 1, but I like that of that modern woman, like juggling this, juggling that, and so frazzled that just wants to safety valve, let off some steam. Susan Sarandon comes in like a gypsy, like a wandering gypsy, like a bit irresponsible, hasn't grown up. And they just get pissed and just...
Was that the Christmas version?
Yeah, guzzle down lollies in a supermarket like teenagers. And she's one of them, the tardy one, is lap dancing on Santa.
Oh,
that's the
sexual
one that's harassment, but that's okay if a woman does it.
That's the one that's a bit of a hoe, yeah.
Yeah, and she gets on the mic and says, "I'm so horny" in the mall. And okay, so feminism has made women equal to men who behave like that in the 70s. That's your best thinking. Behave like teenage men in the 70s, where they could just go around saying, "Want a root? Show us your tits." That's what feminism has done for women, and has made a lot of lonely single mothers that say, "Where have the good men gone? Where have they all gone? Fuck if I know. Maybe they all died in the war. Maybe there were never any good men. Only God is good." And I'm thinking, feminism has given this women power. Let me roar. But, oh, no, it's not the case. They're still weak and need protection and still need vast amounts of money to be transferred to them, in divorce settlements, in domestic violence grants, and all sorts of incentives and affirmative action.
So much for being oppressed.
Yeah. So there's now a lot of lonely single mothers that, because they're lowered sexual market value, that men are going for younger women that don't have kids. And they're lonely and they want men to step up, and men won't. Well, look, it's like handing a child a gun, really. Sex consent laws, regret rape. It doesn't go well. A few days later, she can ring the police and say, "I was sexually assaulted. This is what happened." And she will believe. So, and the COVID's just sort of added to like cutting down on sociability. And I'm thinking, well, you wanted this, you wanted it. You didn't rail back against it. Our roles didn't change at all. In fact, we had to just pull our heads and stop behaving like, like Clementine, the people at Clementine Ford, right? Oh, the rape culture. Whoa. Oh yeah, really. You wanted it. And here it is. And I tell you what, I'll give you the bloody Tom Thumb. You know, if you're feeling like your country's not your own anymore, feelings like world's closing in, that you'll have nobody for you when you're old and sick, nobody protect you.
Well, I just feel like that
nobody gives a shit about you.
The top
welcome to our world.
The top left-hand corner
fucking goddamn world
of the political compass, it gets half the media coverage, and they're facilitated to, and why, when they can never be pleased. It's never enough, and actually, the anchor on society. They're holding us back from achieving our potential.
And with that, when you got something as perverse as that, like misandry. Did I send you the link for the misandry bubble by Imran Khan?
I think, yeah, you sent me something. I don't know if it was that, but I think it probably was. But yeah.
Have you read it? The misandry bubble?
I did read what you inboxed me.
Yep.
Yeah.
It gets to a stage of just such bullshit where women are still oppressed when actually men are the real slaves and victims in this society. That if that happens and that men feel it, no matter what the media is saying and everybody else and all the blokes down the pub saying, don't worry about it, mate, that mutations will start to occur. That if there's no incentive to invent new technologies or to marry or to even date, that it's like stopping a river. It'll just, you dam it and it'll just start going elsewhere in all lots of millions of other different directions. And this whole misandry thing of just treating men like stupid slobs that they're there to shit test and play games with, it's over. It's game over. It's finished.
Yeah. I think Viktor Orban, I know that he definitely abolished something, but I think it was gender studies.
In Hungary?
Yeah.
I might move to Hungary. Poland, Hungary. Yeah, they're sticking up the EU, aren't they?
Oh, I love the fact that he's been getting re-elected in landslides.
I'm just glad that they can just see that, okay. He probably saw, you remember when Gaddafi, was that about 2011, Colonel Gaddafi, Libya? Hillary Clinton, bloodthirsty Hillary Clinton and bloodthirsty Obama killed him. They had NATO, under the guise of NATO, had a no-fly zone, and Gaddafi knew he was going to die, and he said, if I get killed, the floodgates of, I'm holding all these refugees back.
I saw a Facebook post that he gave, what's it called? It's September 2009 UN speech, and he called that all this shit was going to happen.
And guess what? Thanks to Obama, who keeps on bitching about slavery in America, slavery's returned thanks to Hillary Clinton and Obama and all those other lunatics that caused all this refugee crisis. And Hungary and Poland saw that. They saw that.
Angela Merkel was complicit in it.
Yeah, there was that propaganda thing.
After correctly saying in 2010 that it doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, there's probably been a whole new plan come along, and they just think, yep, make the Germans feel guilty for Hitler.
Yep.
Even if they weren't even alive, that was happening.
Time to 180.
And that whole post-feminist thing of like men are essentially evil and it's a patriarchy and let's let it in and I'd rather be raped than be a racist or something. Those all these holding these signs up. Refugees welcome. And you think, you wanted this? You wanted it? Feminists? You wanted it? The average woman didn't rail against it because they are just so used to men manipulating men to be the instigators of everything. The instigators of having a date, of, initiate intimacy, or to fix a country's woes up or go after battle or anything like that. Just the instigators, but they'll just sit behind there rolling their eyes going, oh my God. You know, what's that feminist saying? Behind every man, every successful man is a woman rolling her eyes. Oh, because he's held her back. He's held her back. You think, you've flogged that fucking dead horse. That has just run its course. You know, the left just can't seem to stop talking about fucking racism every 5 minutes. Oh my God, it's so racist. That you look up MGTOW on Wikipedia, it's like a white supremacist, alt-right, literally fucking Hitler group. Page you can't edit. And no mention of, you know, SYSBM, save yourselves, black men. That's a philosophy now of like black men. I bet if you looked into the statistics of black men in jail, they'd be all there for alimony and child support.
Yeah, and obviously the war on drugs, of course.
Yeah.
Yep.
Majority of men in jail are all from single mother households. Just the rate of fatherlessness is just destroying the West.
Yeah.
Destroyed it. I don't need no man. I brought these kids up on my own. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. With a lot of beta male tax providers money there.
Yeah.
For your women's hospital, for your women's clinics. Sure enough, you have the reproductive issues that need to be sorted. But if beta males stop contributing to that, the whole shit show's going to fall down, which is starting to fall down now. So men are free. Men do not have to just think, oh my God, how do I hold this up and preserve the way of life? No, you don't. You just have to walk away and disengage. Disengage. Once, I think the only thing can save it would be if women let men have their revolution. No, women will have to learn how to love men again. Stop fucking nagging. Stop shit testing, or at least put a lid on it. Stop fucking gossiping. Because what is gossip but just murder by character assassination? And look at yourself. Look at your own faults. Look at your own shortcomings.
Yeah.
And that's one of the hardest things to do, because women are not going to be told what to do by men. They don't. You know, they say, oh, women don't listen, you know, women are not being listened, you know, men don't listen to women or anything like that. And I think what we do, we just have a filter, and we just realise a lot of what they say are just like shit tests to see if he's congruent to being a fucking slave.
Did you ever watch any of No Holds Barred?
No, I don't watch TV or stuff.
Oh, no, he was a YouTuber.
What's it on?
He was a YouTuber.
No, what's he into?
Oh, he was, what's it called? You know, MGTOW comedian.
Oh, right. Yeah, I don't really watch much Manosphere stuff anymore. I just sort of took what I needed to leave the rest, but I might check him out.
Oh, well, he doesn't unfortunately do it anymore. But he was so hilarious. Like, he's not like a comedian, like in the same way Bill Burr obviously is, you know, like an independent, you know, creator.
Yeah. Bill Burr's one of a kind, really. He can, he just seems to dig himself a hole, but really cleverly pulls himself out of it. The way he just sort of talks about, you know, domestic violence, hearing about it, you know, for the 50 millionth fucking time, that men have to be reminded, and saying, well, you know, a man hitting a woman doesn't just drop out of the sky. There's stuff leading up to it. That any crime scene or firefight is always investigated. Why did it happen? Why did it happen?
And just because she's weaker than you doesn't mean she can't hurt you. Yeah,
but it's just gender-based violence towards women. Okay, so that assumes that women are perfect, never to be looked at, never to be questioned, never to be criticised, and they're never to do any self-reflection or introspection. It's just that man are the instigators, and resources have to be handed over to her. And, well, okay, if that's the deal, again, mutations will occur to that sort of particular false narrative. It's just fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Absolute crap.
But that's not going to stop them from obviously, you know, from advancing it.
The activists have just tried to stay relevant, haven't they? They've got to just invent more more creative things until eventually there'll just be no more money. It'll have to dry up.
Yeah.
That even the cucks, you know, the trad cucks or the cuckservatives, even and the beta male providers, even they'll say, well, this has just gone way beyond. You know, because they keep saying in that Red Pill movie, there was a couple of women there saying, we're not quite there yet with equality. We're not quite there yet. And I think that means slavery. That to me is like reading between the lines. It's just total slavery and slavery for men.
Yeah,
and
well,
I think
they
men should
turned
walk away and just leave it to automation to do all the work.
they turned homelessness into a woman's issue when 3/4 of the homeless are men. They turned that into a woman's issue. Well, 1 in 4 homeless people are women. Well, what about the other 3 in 4? What about, you know, all the 4 in 4 homeless?
Yeah, well, men just matter very little in the world of a woman. I don't think we matter that much at all. It's just what we can provide for them. Anything like that. Look at the choices that they've made, you know, with all their emancipation, you know, so-called emancipation. Emancipation. You know, Maureen talks about that second sex, but if she was so oppressed, that Simone de Beauvoir, why is the book that freaking thick? Like, gee whiz, you know, it's weighs like a house brick. Wouldn't the patriarchy say, no, this can't be published? No. Impossibly possible. It never existed. If they haven't built their utopia now, they never will. If there was, you know, I was saying to Maureen the other day, the last page of the Communist Manifesto says, workers of the world unite, you're nothing to lose but your chains. And feminism, of course, very Marxist, sees marriage as private property, you know, owned by the male, owned and controlled by the male, to have that dreary existence, being an incubator and a bloody cook. And meanwhile, there was female politicians, Dame Enid Lyons in Canberra in the 1940s, Josephine Baker in Paris in the 20s, Amelia Earhart, an aviator. There's female Soviet fighter pilots, Indira Gandhi in India, Golda Meir in Israel, many female authors. Maggie Thatcher, a feminist, hated her. She said, my success, not in no way at all to feminism, and they hated her for that. So if they haven't lost their chains by now, they have to get that little bit more equality. There were no chains to start off with. We're all beasts of burden. We're all slaves in chains, if you must see it that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I see, obviously, you know, their government, of course, you know, been in power in Victoria, you know, and I mean, I was so disgusted when I saw that he was still popular, you know, up 58.5 two-party preferred, you know, and like my mum correctly said, you know, he's done nothing but the wrong thing.
Even down on the level of feelings, that's all about how you feel.
Yeah.
My feelings are, especially from a film background where I did a bit of directing, is that if you're head of the ship, you've got to make the cast and crew feel secure. You got to not go full retard, but with the crew, you've got to respect them for their work, but keep an eye on them and kick them in the arse when they need it. Kick in the arse, you go forward. Kick in the guts, you go backwards. And our fearless leader's just done kicks in the guts. From being a trans woman perspective of having more feelings and more oppression than everyone, and being part gypsy, like I'm right there on the intersectional thing. And if race is a social construct, I identify as a Fijian woman warrior of the 18th century that ate 600 people. I've got a Fijian background, and as you can tell by the flag, I know a few cannibal recipes. So, mate, if it ever gets to cannibalism, like we're running out of food, I know a few good recipes. I can do a Fijian hangi, like a lovo. We'll be right, mate. We'll be right.
Yeah, because obviously that's what communism produces: food shortages, famine.
Yeah, when I said race is a social construct, that's it. That's it. It was the doors were open, and yeah, you can have your communism. Yeah, what do they say? What did socialist countries use before?
That's pretty much what the Great Reset is, isn't it? I mean, you know, not being able to own anything. It pretty much is communism. Yeah, it's
pathetic. It's like they've given up. It's like they've just sort of given up, or they want people to give up. Oh well.
What do you think of democracy? Because you know, just because of the fact that obviously state Labor will re-elect in a landslide, you know, doesn't obviously mean or make them a good government. You know, on the contrary, you know, they're so degenerate. You know, Melbourne's turning into San Francisco. You know, that what's it called? You know, that environmental, you know, nut job group, Extinction Rebellion. You know, they were shitting in Melbourne, just like they do in San Francisco. You know, so what do you think of democracy? Because, you know, I would be horrified, obviously, if he were to be re-elected in another colossal landslide.
I think even if is that Michael O'Brien or the Liberals?
Oh, the opposition leader. Yeah,
I think they only decent thing Kennett said, I think, was abolish the state government, and he should have been a power of example and abolished it. It's just another tier of just blood-sucking, money-sucking bullshit that just kills trees and wastes oxygen.
Yeah.
You know, they're talking about sustainability and environmental awareness and all this stuff, like abolish the state government.
Yeah.
No matter who you vote for, the government gets in. And so democracy, it's just a couple of notches either way. You know, you could get your, oh my God, the right-wing nationalists, or the left-wing, you know, what we got now is a left-wing anti-male
degenerates.
Pro-elimination of the West. You know, and just bring it to one big, you know, oh my God, this utopia. You know, the word utopia means nowhere. They keep on talking about this socialist utopia. It means fucking nowhere. It means we've gone from a really good society that did its best to right its wrongs.
Oh, they're operating in unicorn land.
Yeah, to where they just didn't stop. They just didn't stop. Like after Kevin Rudd said sorry, they should have just said, right, fucking stop. That's enough. This progressive, but he's a cuck. He should have just said, fucking stop. No more money. Like, abolish the state governments and dry up, just reduce all government spending. Just put a moratorium on it for 5 years. Just give it a 5-year trial. Just redo the infrastructure, the roads, fix up everything like that. Ensure a water supply. Manage the forest properly, honestly, like proper burn-offs with consultation with blackfellas. Get it back to where we can have bush. Like they're talking about now, sustainability. Yeah, that'll mean a massive population reduction.
Yeah.
They'll just start be giving boomers like me like free suicide pills, like in on the beach or Soylent Green.
Yeah, well, I just want to bash the abolish button, you know, on all this degenerate bullshit, you know, such as, you know, fucking, you know, the bullshit safe schools, you know, which is, you know, sexual grooming for children, and abolish, you know, drag queen story hour, you know, like, I mean, shit like that, if you get what I'm saying. Like, I'm sure there's obviously ways to just that, but yeah, you know, abolish all that bullshit.
Oh, they're starting on the kids. Yeah, you get them when they're young. It's just feminist teachers. Boys can have periods too. Two Mummies book. There's that bloody penguin one. Oh yeah, and it's just going to just fill their kids full of fucking shit. Yeah, it's a war on masculinity, but it'll affect girls too. It's going to affect girls too because boys get full of more soy. But who's going to protect them if their just veins are just running with soy? And the trans people, like they've knocked feminism off the perch. Like I said, feminism's been demoted the last 5 years. I was despairing the other day, but I thought, well, what's the pushback? And it's bit by bit, this misandry bubble is being punctured.
Yeah.
Of course, we got to have more multiculturalism from cultures that actually do oppress women, that actually are a patriarchy and actually do oppress women. But they're
yeah, that was really hilarious. What's it called? The values test. And it had in there, you know, do you agree, you know, with, you know, hitting women kind of thing, if you get what I'm saying, you know? Do you agree with domestic violence against women? And the legacy media, you know, were outraged because they were like, does this affect Muslims? You know, does this hurt Muslims?
We go to the magistrate's court, where I went for the DV thing. There's a Quran and a Bible there. And I mean, what percentage of the population are they? 3% or even 1%? I don't know. But disproportionate in domestic violence cases, because Allah says you can hit your wife no more than 10 times at a sitting, but you are permitted to strike your wife if she disobeys her husband.
Yeah, well, that's not gender equality, is it?
Well, it is, because you're honouring her by not giving her a black eye or knocking any teeth out. So you should hear him talk. There was somebody saying the other day, "Oh, I've got Muslims next door and they're all right." Oh, yeah. They don't know there's a thing called taqiyya, which is you are permitted to lie, tell any lie to advance Islam. And it does sanction it. You can own a baby. You can possess a baby, a newborn baby girl. If the father wants to give the baby girl away, he can give it to her husband. They can marry at any age. They can have sex at any age, although it's recommended that she be able to be old enough to support the man's weight. So that is just conveniently looked the other way, because they're fucking cowards, the left.
Yeah, because that's genuine oppression that they face.
Yes. And I thought, why? They must know this. They're not stupid, the left. I mean, there's a lot of sheep, you know, but the sheepdogs, they know this.
Yeah. I mean, that they never want to question anything. And it must be a case of, you know, comfort.
Well, they're getting money. A lot of the aid agencies are getting money off domestic violence against Muslim women, and they'll put the Muslim men through the Duluth model, but then they'll go to the mosque and on Friday, and will just be saying, look, I'll teach the Ummah about gender realism. Man made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. That's what they say. And so I think the wokerati of the progressives are hoping that they will wear the Muslims down to where they're all gender fluid and got drag queen story hour. And it's not going to happen.
Oh, yeah, no, they will not allow that.
It's not going to happen, because even if one country does it, you get really conservative other countries and they will just be so pissed off.
I was so amused when Muslims got some degeneracy, you know, overthrown, if you get what I'm saying. I was so amused by that. I was like, I got what I wanted, but just not the way that obviously I, you know, expected. You know, because to me, you know, that the 98, 99%, you know, should be voting this, you know, bullshit degeneracy the fuck out.
Yeah, and again, the left has just got us on this suicidal path. It's just barreling towards it, and the right as well. I shouldn't do that. To me, Trump was just one of those freaks that just happened. And you think you're going to get the things for his country that every other non-Western country has for their country, which is just sovereign borders, which is just like pride in your country.
Obama, he wasn't open borders. It's extraordinary how obviously, you know, far left they've gone in such a small time frame.
Yeah, as if they've been given a memo, a new program, because Colonel Sanders, he was all into, protecting the country. I mean, look at the Soviet Union. They had hardly any immigration. You know, but they're having propaganda now, like you come up to the YouTube recommendations of, the amount of black people that moved to the Soviet Union to escape the oppression in America. And all these black people leaving comments, oh, wow, I was really like that. Oh, I want to move there. Oh, I wish I had been there. And I thought, can you be any more fucking dumb? Just read the Gulag Archipelago. There was distinct lack of bloody diversity then. Or any Russian movies of the 60s.
My favorite.
I haven't seen any black people in any Russian movies. I'm a big fan of Andrei Tarkovsky and Sergei Eisenstein.
My favorite gays.
Black people in any Soviet films. It's a monoculture.
My favorite gays are the ones that support Che Guevara, you know, for entertainment purposes.
Yeah, he was a card, wasn't he?
Yeah. He didn't support their right to breathe.
Yeah, he was boss of that. Once they had the revolution, he was like, what do I do now? I'm all fired up. I want to do, worldwide revolution. It's a thing with communism. It's just to spread, just to keep spreading and spreading. And Castro, one of those missiles to annihilate America. And Che Guevara was full of beans. And so he was command of that, what's that prison in Havana, La Cabana?
I don't know. I know.
He freely admitted killing a few thousand people. Executing himself. Yeah, gays. I think they even rounded up the prostitutes.
It's hilarious when, gays for Che Guevara.
Yep. Oh, well, gays for open board, yeah. Yes. It's quite unthinking, and especially when you get grown-up people that just seem otherwise rational and well-balanced, how retarded they've become. Yeah. As if it's that mateship thing I was talking about earlier with Barry and Gary, where you might have your private thoughts, but the popular view is like open borders is good, Orange Man bad, defunding the police good.
Where's the police?
My not mate, but acquaintance in town, like that fucking Trump, he hasn't reeled in the police. And I said, you realise that all those police shootings were happening with Obama? You have a black president in for 2 terms.
Race relations are worse than ever.
Yeah. And Obama's saying when that another black man resisted arrest, saying, oh, Michael Brown or Trayvon Martin is like my son. And there's a fucking convicted thug resisting arrest. And they're just so hungry for some oppression.
Yeah, that's right. That was the other thing that I wanted to say is that, do not antagonize the police. Go along with whatever they tell you, and fight the charge in court.
If you look up that ex-cop donut operator, he has that, and you see, especially the scrutiny the police are under with all the body cams of what's happening. There's a black man. It looks like all these cop cars around, a black man, and a black woman is filming it, going, "Oh my God, don't shoot him! You're going to shoot him! You're going to shoot him! Oh, he hasn't done anything. He hasn't got a gun." And the police don't know that. It's suspected robber. There's been a phone call, suspected robber. He fits the description. So get on your knees with your hands on your head. And the police are all working out what to do. Because this bloke's looking shifty. It looks like he wants to run. And this woman's saying, oh, you're going to kill him. You're going to kill him. She's probably streaming live to Facebook. And this silly cow's in the firing line of all the police surrounding him. You look at her, like this diagonal line, her, the black man on his knees, and the cops, this female police pointing a gun at the bloke, and she's right in the fight. She's so fucking stupid, doesn't even realise she's in the firing line, but saying, "Oh, baby, you haven't done anything wrong. You haven't." And he was the robber. It was the robber. You just had more police show up because you've just got to have in a situation like that, overwhelming numbers. So if he runs, you just got to run after him, and you got to get beanbag shotguns these days, and you've got to do crowd control. There's got to be a whole lot of people going, "Oh, let him go. He hasn't done anything wrong," and they're just, a lot of times these people are just getting their charges dismissed because of so-called racist white cops. And Obama just let this thing happen. He invited all those bloody Black Lives Matter thugs into the White House.
Because I mean, the worst thing that you can do, is fucking, Sarah Bland the police. Like talking back to them, and obviously being extremely uncooperative.
And such a high-stress job. That when that came out, I thought it was the most retarded thing I'd ever heard. Thank God it hasn't picked up here. I mean, they had that BLM march here, and it was for a rapist that resisted arrest in jail. Was it Michael Dungay?
Yeah, because he wasn't.
Saw the body cam footage of that. It was crazy. They said, we're going to transfer you to another cell, and he just resisted, and I think a woman gave him a what do they call it? Chemical restraint, and it killed him.
So it's okay to be a rapist provided you're not white then?
Yep, and that's where the left has lost me well and truly, that I just stay away from them, that the whole narrative is dishonest.
Yeah.
And people just keep on supporting them, making fools of themselves. There's friends of mine that are old style left, and then it just haven't got with the times,
They believe they're holier than thou. Supporting, of course, yeah.
They don't realise the left has been hijacked. They're still going on about, we got to take on these big corporates and these neocons, and we've got to take money. And I said, well, steal money off the thieves. You're no better than feminists. You just want to steal off the thieves. So, like, are you any better? Why don't just?
They have the same positions as the corporations.
Yep, the whole lot, the whole thing, yeah. They don't realise that the whole carpet is being pulled out from under them. They're still going, oh yeah, union power, comrade, and all this. They don't realise that they've got no fucking rights anymore. That they've just sat on their hands because wages have been stagnant for 30 years. There's been this crumbling infrastructure for 30 years or more. But usually, all the jobs I had a wage rise. So I think when I first came to Melbourne, I was working $8 an hour labouring cash in hand, and it's now up to $10 at Vic Markets, 15 if you're any good.
Yeah, and the American working class has been absolutely fucked. They it took them not 9 months. They came up with $600.
And that Orange Man bad, where you think, these people had any sense, rather than this unremitting hatred and dishonesty and just manipulating everything around, he realised that if you let Trump rebuild the country, you would have a really good tax base. He wasn't going to take money off feminist programs because, women are the voting population, or the women are the majority voting population because they live longer.
I wish he would obviously, abolish all the degeneracy, obviously, of course, feminism, 1990s onwards, I wish he would abolish all that shit. But, I think that the guy has probably fought too many fronts, even though I think, obviously, that election outcome, official story is sus AF. I think obviously, the guy was fighting all sorts of fronts.
Yeah, and with Republicans as well.
Rhinos.
I think it's a real shame he just didn't declare martial law and shut down the media and just have a Trump channel and just sit down there and explain what's going on. And that this is like crunch time. But I think he's just got so many people that hate him that have just taken the Kool-Aid that are just so fucking mindless and graceless.
Yeah.
Because I've always thought no matter who comes in, just give them a go. Give them a go. Just see what they got, and people are going, oh, Obama. like when he started off his inaugural speech, he was saying like 50 years ago, my father couldn't get served here in a shop. But America is like that, where it's a great country and it'll change. It'll progress. Like, in other words, he was tipping his hat to America. Now he hates America. Oh, fucking slavery and fucking white oppression and police brutality. When this fucking idiot caused that migrant refugee crisis in Europe, he caused it. They cause all these refugee crises, the left. They are just so goddamn dishonest now that you think the traditional thing of the left is to take care of the poor, you know, have a go at taxing the rich, although they can move all their money offshore or take their businesses elsewhere. It's just like, what, that AOC loony? Nah, we're not going to have Amazon New York. Nah. And there was like thousands of jobs taken somewhere else, a tax base. So, okay, Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world, and he won't pay any tax, but he's got like, you know, how many thousand employees? 45,000 employees he was going to have in New York.
Yeah,
what a tax base.
I think the justification that they see as, you know, for open borders is no human beings illegal.
Yeah, they had that phony migrant train, that migrant caravan coming up from Guatemala, where they had like kids in nappies and people in bare feet and thongs and no water bottles in tropical heat.
You know why that's happening, though, don't you? Obviously, the open borders, you know, shit. You know why that's happening, yeah? Because of the bullshit regime change wars. You know, and their country's been bombed.
Yep.
Yeah.
They and dismantle the West like that has been really stupid, because you get countries like India where not the best diet in the world, but they come to the West and they really respond well and they really prosper. Like you know, it's the Western diet, the Western medicine. It's great. I mean, India survived for 5,000 years. It's a great country. I like India. I like Indians. I grew up with them in Pacific Island country I was born in.
Lifted a lot of people out of poverty since 1991.
And you'll always have poverty in countries. Sub-Saharan Africa, there'll always be poverty. But
India has pretty much no middle class at all, though.
Beg your pardon?
India pretty much has no middle class at all, though, as far as I understand. Like, either you live in, you know, a palace or the slums.
There's a really burgeoning a lot of entrepreneurs. I think with technology, tech fields, I think there is quite a strong bourgeoisie in India, because they're very entrepreneurial. I saw this one documentary where they came from the village. They're all sharing a room, all these young men, all kept themselves groomed well. They were going out and they were sieving, like in a gutter, pulling the drain cover off, going right down, scooping out all the slurry and all the mud and sieving it, because up the road was a goldsmith. And through all the goldsmith work, it would wash down in the gutter, down into the drain, and they could make enough money doing that. And they were carrying themselves like entrepreneurs even before they became entrepreneurs. They moved on to better things because they saved like this money, pulled their resources and all cooked and ate at home and lived cheaply. I admire their pluck, you know, their spirit, and that's something that we've lost. You know, we're talking about why aren't people doing permaculture in Australia or any of these skills, because we don't have to. We're just fucking lazy. Become lazy now, and it's going to bite us on the bum, because you think this shit show can't last forever. We're buying cheap shit from China and they can switch off the supply any time. Been our own worst enemy, just been like a big quarry.
Well, we should be transitioning away from, obviously, you know, having China as our major trading partner.
Yeah, well, they can just play any game they like, or any other country. I'll just say, we'll stop buying your beef. And they go, oh, no. Well, the live sheep exports, oh, no. Because I think they did their best to try and make it more civilized. Because they're selling a shitload of sheep to Saudi Arabia, like live sheep, for the Hajj. But it's taxation without representation. Because you make that one thing of just what's our greatest export? What, coal, man, iron ore,
Iron ore to China. Yeah.
Yep. Where they don't want that individualism. Was it Maureen saying about in uni, like, oh, individualists are no good? Yes, they are. Because they'll go off into their sheds, into their garages, like Jeff Bezos did with his, started off Amazon, his garage. So did that Bill Gates. I mean, he's Dr. Evil now, but he started off in his garage. A lot of these people start off in garage. Individuals, they don't want that anymore. I suppose they just want the collective where we're all like, okay, how can we be more sustainable? How can we build back better? Let's get our solar panels from China. They don't realise the solar panels require mining, fossil fuels. Like you can have electric trucks on wind turbines, sure. What's all this renewables produced in Australia? Probably about 1%, is it?
Yeah, that's right.
Some days, even less. $2 million a wind turbine or something, and they choose nothing. They choose next to nothing. And we're going to build back better. Yeah, so I thought...
They kill, obviously, the birds, the wind turbines,
Yeah, the orange belly parrot down here or something like that. It's just this hideous-looking thing. And that's what I don't like, that dishonest narrative, and that you can't question it, like that Planet of the Humans movie, that Mike Moore, Roger, whatever his name is. At film, you think, well, okay, they're presenting in a rock venue entirely powered by solar. And he goes out the back and interviews people and say, well, all these solar panels, which is like filling up a supermarket car park, would barely operate a bloody toaster. Hardly do any. And then you got to build batteries, which is full of corrosive materials and rare metals in the solar panels. And people are buying this, and we're all just going headlong into all this stuff. I suppose it's just more money for elites and more money for China, and people will swallow it. And we're that pushed apart now, where it's really hard to get any unity or any group together now. Maybe a Facebook group, but you can't really, it's hard to find that without being monitored or infiltrated.
Yeah,
or deplatformed.
I don't think Maureen's coming back.
All right, she's had enough. You think we should call it a night? It's 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess, something must, her camera or whatever must have ran flat. I guess that's why she hasn't come back.
Yeah, well, hopefully there's something she can use. I had a few rants there.
Because, I mean, I just kind of feel bad, obviously, that she's recording us and she's not here. And like, I was stunned, obviously to see her go.
Yeah, it's tipped the gender balance. You identify as a male, you self-identify as a male.
Well, I agree that I'm male, yes.
That was a gender that was a sex you were assigned at birth.
Yep.
Well, I was born in the wrong body. Neurodivergent.
You should have
non-binary, ancestral Black Irish slave, POC.
You should have spelt your name Karen if you were going for the stereotypical Karen.
Yeah, I had a girlfriend called Karen.
Was her name?
Yeah, a little bit of a deviation, but Catherine is Karen. You got you see Kate there. It's Karen's a derivative of Catherine. Katie.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was the case. That Kate was short for Catherine.
Catherine the Great. Yep. And I just like the Karen. Yeah, it's just I didn't want to be a full Karen.
Just so you sound hard, Karen.
Okay, Karen. Yeah.
Karen.
Oh, there's a lot of Karens, right? And yeah, that was my message before. Women got to learn to love men again. Revive that ancient tradition of learning how to love men and praise them. Men love praise, and women just don't praise men. When's the last time you were praised?
So I mean, is Karen? The left pretty much have basically totally abandoned the working class now, haven't they? You know, because obviously Karen, of course, talks down to the working class.
Yeah, but they're still heavily reliant on their efforts. They tax livestock. They might as well just be like, donkeys with bags of rocks tied to their backs. So you just got to keep on flogging those donkeys and dropping off. Some are escaping off into the scrub. Others are waking up early, like yourself, that you're getting red pilled and you're realizing there's shit going on and there's a whole lot of bullshit and a whole lot of misinformation and we're being bloody used. And
yeah. And the leftist space, they ain't questioning shit.
No, they'll go along with it. They'll be shouted down. They'll be shouted down and they should be shouting back. They should be shouting back, but they're
exactly. That they're not going to obviously let the facts, get in the way. They're not going to let the facts stop them.
Well, I just avoid the topic. I've got a couple of old lefty friends I talk to, and one of them liked that red pill movie. The other one's like, oh yes, well, yeah, shocking, yes. And when you say to them like they've got to keep Orange Man bad. No matter what Orange Man does, Conservatives bad, Orange Man bad. Well, I think, well, take what you need from all of it and just leave the rest. But it's sort of like Conservatives bad, right wing bad, left wing all good, and you think, well, okay, you're realising that on all sides it's taxation without representation, which is what they said around the time of the American Revolution.
What do you think?
We're not being represented.
What do you think? What's it called? Because I'm not so much, pro-democracy, if you get what I'm saying. I'd like to pretty much kind of learn from Pinochet's mistakes, if you don't want to by that. Try to improve, obviously targeting, of course, who to throw out of a helicopter.
Was that Allende that was before Pinochet?
Yeah, that's right, Allende, yep.
I don't know much about Chilean thing. I think that, I don't know, all I heard was CIA and Pinochet was a brute, and I met a lot of Chilean activists over here, and communism good, Che Guevara good, Pinochet bad, Pinochet Hitler, etc., etc. And I don't know, that Pinochet did slaughter a few people.
Yeah, well, I'm not so...
Esmeralda.
I don't think his targeting was very good, but I think that he had the right idea.
All right.
Yeah, because obviously I've already said, of course, that who I see the enemy has been, and that is the top left-hand corner of the political compass. The 1-2% of the country, but I think that the 1% that is in that very top left-hand corner, they're the ones that need to be thrown out of a helicopter, because they, like I said before, that they are the anchor on our civilization. They are the enemy. That they are a threat to our freedom and our quality of life.
Well, they're the dominant culture now.
Yeah.
I like the idea of ancient Rome when you had senators. When it was going well.
Oh yeah, Augustus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like senators, the word senator comes from senior, like wise elders, when elders were wise.
Yeah.
But then they had a crisis and I think they passed a law where you could have a dictator, and there's a fellow called Cincinnatus.
Yeah.
I think it was a bit like Russell Crowe on the farm, where he came in, he kicked ass, he
Yeah.
declared himself dictator for a certain amount of time, kicked ass, got the country right again,
Mm.
vanquished the enemies, restored order,
Yeah.
and he went back to his farm again.
Mm.
And that's where I think the city Cincinnati is named after.
Yeah.
A benevolent dictator. But trouble is, you get dictators, you get people like Franco, and they're freaking retarded.
Oh yeah, tell me about Franco, because I've heard of him before. He was the Spanish dictator.
Yeah, well, you had Spain, and it was basically, you had this decaying bloody monarchy that was like 100 years ago. Spain was just like nothing had changed from medieval era. It was very poor, very retarded, and you had decadent elites and quite a decadent church.
And Franco obviously stood for that, basically represented that.
Yep. Well, Franco, yeah, Franco was a patriarchy. Then you had a lot of unrest, a lot of strikes, a lot more communism seeping into there. And eventually the elections, the Republicans won the election, or the commies. And they're also like seizing land, just going the Soviet model, really. And you think, well, what's worse? Like,
well, nothing
Russia.
Worse than that.
Like Russia, yeah. And then,
because
they called Franco. He was like a military general, like the generals in the church are all, the industrial elites, what little industry they had this big shit show where Hitler, Franco, and Stalin backed the were they the Republicans or the socialists, the commies? And
they were the Bolsheviks in Russia.
Yeah. Since Stalin, I think Stalin might have cut off the aid or something like that.
Because pretty much my position is that the left should have the right to party, and the right should have the right to make money. And what's it called? If you are a fuckwit, we're physically removing you.
Well, the left is parasitic. That's as far as I can see. The far left.
Yeah.
The left introduced me to good food, like the hippie thing, decent food, permaculture. Had multiculturalism anyway, but then it got more politically correct and more retarded. Then gender fluid, and it's just gone up and up and more retarded to now where stare, rape, or mansplaining, or manspreading, or that other stuff we're talking about before. They're retarded. So if the left were self-supporting, I wouldn't mind if they could just fuck off. Stop bullshitting about domestic violence and family violence and racism, and stop crapping on them, but flogging a dead horse with that retarded bullshit. They keep going on, and they've rendered themselves irrelevant. They've forgotten about just going out, planting trees, becoming self-sufficient, and starting with yourself. Just tread lightly on the earth.
Yeah, because I was
like open borders. Think, you asked the black fellas that, have you? Idiots.
Because I of what I read of because I don't know much, obviously, about Tito, but of what I'd read, I wouldn't have minded, living under him.
It depends on who you get, because he had a purge, like every commie.
Because he was a communist only in name. He was really, a social, free market libertarian.
A bit of a nationalist. I think he stood up to Stalin, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, but he purged. I think in order to get that level of control and that influence, it depends on who you get as a dictator or as a boss or supreme leader. They always have purges.
Because I think that he was the only, successful, left, person on the left, dictator. Because he certainly wasn't a left-hard. So I think he was the only left-wing dictator, obviously, not that left, of course, that was successful. And it was because of the fact that he wasn't a left-hard. because of the fact he didn't operate in unicorn land.
And he didn't go full retard like Stalin, like introduce Stalinist incentives. Like Ceausescu in Romania was a bit of a horror show. It just shows what can happen. You let an idiot take control, and they'll eventually forget where they come from, because a lot of them come from poor villages.
Is the reason Hungary's the way it is because Hungary had to obviously endure a lot of that bullshit? Obviously back in that era.
Yeah, I think it was 1956 where the Soviets sent the tanks in. They've been quite tribalist, I suppose, the Magyars.
Yeah, because like I'd said, Viktor Orban's just been getting re-elected in landslides.
Well, I think Hungary's been in one of those positions where it's just had invaders come back and forth, ravaging across the place. Yeah, Austro-Hungarian Empire, Ottoman Empire, Mongols, I suppose.
Yeah.
And if there's that sort of collective consciousness, like Polish, like you've had people come back and forth, and you're just hanging on to your culture with grim death.
The open borders argument obviously doesn't land there because obviously they've lived the realities of that, of the bullshit of that.
Yeah. And you get some red pill leaders that can explain it to the people to say, look what's happening in these other places, like some honest reporting. Look what's happened to the shit show. Look what we endured under the Soviets.
Yeah.
They would probably just take the best and brightest out of their country and all the good machinery and just take it back to the Soviet Union like they did in East Germany. And the place is freaking retarded. So all you do is just have this surveillance state.
Yeah.
Owning nothing, I'll be happy. Yeah, like East Germany. You're fucking kidding me? I think it was like a quarter of the population of East Germany pissed off over to the West.
Yeah.
Before they built the wall. They just couldn't wait to get out of there.
Yeah, because you can only really have a government that's basically as good as its, or as smart as its people, if you get what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
And the rulers too, like say when Tito died, it just started to fracture, didn't it?
Well, that's exactly what happened.
Like you've got to rule it with an iron fist in some ways.
Yeah.
Like to keep the whole country together, all the disparate things, what they call it, balkanization.
Yeah, because just because you're a dictator doesn't mean at all that you are necessarily, a bad leader.
Yep. But the thing is, like one bloke, and they finish, like they might have a bit of a golden age, and they finish and then kaput.
So what do you believe the solution is?
Well, on the big picture, could go anyway. On a personal level, I think if I just keep on going on the path that I am, which is just basically like a hermit, and work towards being self-sufficient and stay away from people that's, idiots that just blow my chi. Self-development, self-ownership, self-sovereignty. Let it begin with me. Like I'm in a 12-step program, and that sort of says, stop drinking, first step. Next step is find a power greater than yourself to give you morals and some spiritual guidance and a something to fall back on.
Yeah.
Find God, clean house, help others. And enjoy the decline. I don't like that saying, but
no, because I don't obviously want the decline to happen. I want it to obviously be stopped in its tracks.
It can't help but decline. It's run its course. The West is weak now. It's just eaten out from within. There's just so many self-loathing, self-hating, useless, stupid, overeducated people with useless degrees that produce nothing, that are just in positions of power, that are all just riding this little shit show, making money off it, doing the work of some elites that are just going to want us to be in this one world thing.
But
there's all sorts of conspiracy theories floating around about this.
That's what I mean. That's what I meant by obviously the solution, because obviously, you should definitely try and obviously improve as a person, self-improvement. Absolutely. But what would you do, if you say you were in power, you were in control, how would you save us from, as you say, the decline?
Can it be brought back? I don't know.
Well, I want it to be, but yeah.
Well, bring it back. Well, it's starting to fracture and fall apart anyway, but you could just start with education and just have to go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, because all this wokeism, progressivism has just been happening since, I don't know, where they said 1928, when Stalin had that Comintern and said, let's infiltrate the Western educational institutions because we won't beat them in a conventional war, beat the West. And so let's bring in socialism. So you have to wipe out, or shall I say, defund all the garbage that doesn't produce anything. That would be the first step.
Yeah.
Abolish the state governments.
Yeah.
Make all these resources given to women and trans, make it all 50-50 with men. It's got to be a women's hospital. It's got to be a men's hospital. Get trans. I don't know. You could just have to have some honest discussions about that.
Well, we have
there's such a minute part of the population that are so noisy.
We have the obviously public and private hospitals that would obviously serve the people as a whole, men and women.
Yep. And I think, that alt-right, they talk about an ethno-state, but I think what a bunch of retards. Because unless you change the laws, there's no point having even dating. Have a white ethno-state. I like Vietnamese. I like Indian.
Yeah.
I like Korean. I like Hungarian. I grew up in a multicultural atmosphere in school in Canberra. They were the only kids I could talk to. All the Aussie kids just ignored me. They're all like the aforesaid Vegemite kids that just didn't know. I didn't know what they were on about, and they didn't like me. And it's all the embassy kids I was friends with, though, South Vietnamese and a Russian. So I wouldn't want a white ethno state. I would like a state where men have sovereignty, because men have caused this, men have created this, men maintain the civilization, men fight in wars for it.
Yep, built the inventions.
Yeah, women just sit back getting more fat, lazy and stupid. Can't be sustainable. That's what's happening. So some say it was a wrong idea to give women the vote, because not long after you do that, the welfare state gets introduced, and then women just start whinging for more, and then they start going on about multiculturalism and affirmative action, and that's just fucking cancer, really.
Yeah.
Goes way beyond any reasonable thing, because women can't be happy. They can never be happy.
Yeah.
They can't be happy.
It's gluttonous, really, isn't it?
It's sick. It's sick. You think the male suicide rate, like you're talking about the homeless rate, we just don't. We build this, we maintain it, we pay for it, and we get shat on like that.
But I mean,
you talk about San Francisco.
Yeah.
San Francisco, they've got a crap app. You heard of that?
Yeah. Yes. And there's shit everywhere.
Phone, there's all these brown areas. The whole city's brown. You know what caused that? They're all shitting in the street. You know what caused that? They banned plastic bags. Homeless people were shitting in plastic bags and throwing them in the street bins. Now there's no more plastic bags. You go to 7-Eleven, buy a chocky bar and a bit of fruit or whatever. no more plastic bags. They could have had paper bags. Like, bring back paper bags. That's what I'd do. Bring back paper bags. All this plastic wrapping. It's before you'd have grease-proof wrapping, you'd have Bakelite, and it was all just biodegradable. More biodegradable. Ban straws? What the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. That's such a joke, you know. I mean, surely cleaning up the streets, you know, should be top priority, because you should be ashamed of obviously living in a literal shithole.
Yep. And you go through all those homeless, all those mentally ill that are all just flooding into like Los Angeles and Portland and Seattle and Washington, and it's everywhere. Even Melbourne, I was seeing tents at the back of Abbotsford. You just go through them one by one, you know, a bit like how they arrest COVID people. Surely enough, you have the resources to go through each person, say what's wrong with you, and just guide them. But I think the government has just got so large, so useless, so bureaucratic. There's just so many forms to fill out. There's so many special needs to put down and all this stuff. It's got so complicated now. It can't be saved. I don't think it can be saved.
Yeah. I mean, you'd agree, wouldn't you, that obviously that, you know, these women that are obviously so left-wing, of course, you know, like I said, you know, they're gluttonous. You'd agree with obviously, you know, that description, wouldn't you? For obviously, you know, for how they are, you know, that the way they are, you know, obviously with the fact that, you know, they just can't get enough of it.
That's the most sexist thing I've heard all day as being a woman. You have just triggered my anxiety, Troy.
No. I was saying, you know, these women.
You're insulting my gender. I demand an apology. I think it's called hypergamy. The manosphere, if you know much about the manosphere, is sort of jargon.
Oh yeah,
hypergamy.
Yeah.
Basically, men's job is to provide, protect, and it's women's jobs to extract it out of him. And yeah, for roles that are no longer needed. They married Big Daddy government some time ago.
Yeah, sugar daddy government.
Yeah, but men are still expected to be beta male providers. Go out there like cavemen and just go out and hunt and bring stuff back to the cave, you know, and either that's going into more and more taxes and or child support or court raping or anything like that, or trying to keep her happy, otherwise she'll take the kids off you and you'll have no rights.
And take half.
Keep her happy or she'll have the kids.
Yeah.
Slavery. It's a Jim Crow. That is the new Jim Crow.
Yeah.
And that is fucking disgusting as far as I'm concerned. Because they can't be happy. Women can't be happy. Like it's chasing Chad Thundercock in their 20s. I hear it over and over. Yeah. A woman is single. What happened? Oh, well, it's chasing bad boys.
Or as No Holds Barred would say, you know, riding the cock carousel.
The CC, you got it. You know the drill. And Chad Thundercock, he pisses off. She's getting wrinkly and nagging him. Because that's the thing now. Women nag you. You're not even having a relationship and they're nagging you. You know, they can't help themselves. They can't help themselves. And I think it's really sad. I think it's really sad and it's really desperate. Rather than I am woman, hear me roar. Either it was true or was it not. I can do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, the song was half written by a man. It was probably the record was pressed by a man, probably recorded by a man. Probably all the session musicians were men and the distributors.
Is that the song, you know, I am strong, I am invincible.
Invincible. Yeah. Until, invincible.
Yep, I am.
I've heard it all. I'll be down on the floor and I've heard it all before. No one's ever going to put me down again. They played that all week on my local radio station, community radio station, when she died, and they'll go, I'm strong, I'm invincible. Okay, nobody said anything to the contrary. So what obligation do I have?
Yeah.
Like there's some little subtext there of like, I should be coming
if you're strong and invincible, then you know, and you don't need no man, then obviously all those bullshit, degenerate programs can be abolished then.
Yep, man needs a woman like a fish needs a bicycle. Well, we're going to see a lot of bicycle riding fish getting around. Just those unrelenting insults, and each particular writer, like Andrea Dworkin, like she was a piece of work. That Kate Millett. I didn't like Jermaine Greer. I mean, that Female Uni, you could try to read that and you think, oh, God. But to her credit, there's something I wanted to say earlier about men harassing women. You know, back in the 70s, you'd whack them on the arse or grab on the arse or something like that. You know, you're a bit of all right or something, you know, that you'd see in movies. Jermaine Greer went to London and she had that shit. She had that shit in Australia. Somebody grabbed her on the arse and she'd just say, don't you fucking touch me. But now it's sort of like, oh, my God, the trauma. Like Craig McLachlan on the Rocky Horror Show. You know, a bit of grabbing on the arse or grabbing on the tit, allegedly. He lost his job over it. Like one woman came forward, then another actor on the show came forward and everything like that, like all this sexual harassment. He got off. His wife stuck with him, but it wrecked him. It fucked him up. And I was talking to a friend about it. He was saying, yeah, he remembers that Jermaine Greer saying that. Don't you fucking touch me, pal. Because, you know, when a woman starts having haymakers, like, well, I stand back, I'd run for the fucking hills, you know. I can't hit women. I just can't. I'm going to run for the freaking hills. And I'm strong, I'm invincible. She took it on board and it ended with her.
Would you say that's the official song for, obviously, you know, for feminism?
Yeah, just for women in general. It's their theme song.
Yeah.
It's their theme song. And yeah, with that Tommy Lahren on there, it's saying that, you know, that men have got to stop being trash and will. But
obviously we need to stop electing trash.
Yeah, well, I think the party system is just all corrupt, and it's just they've just got to do whatever it takes for power, and whatever they think is the cause du jour. Because there's very few woke people around, really, as opposed to the blue-collar tax-providing population, like the trans community. I mean, what percentage are they? They're tiny, but they're getting laws passed in their favour and getting people kicked out of their jobs.
Yeah, and they're like 1 out of every 300 people.
Yep, and then feminists come crying back to the patriarchy, and you think, no. But the patriarchy will, because they're simps, you know, the conservatives. If the feminists coming back, you just say, look, fuck off. Fuck off. You wanted your utopia. You want to be strong and invincible.
Yeah, well, I
stand up and stop bitching to men to solve your problems.
I just can't
no mercy
see how they've been oppressed whatsoever, because, you know, like, if there's a patriarchy, I mean, it's serving them.
But they say, I had this cuck say to me, but the patriarchy harms men too. And I said, the patriarchy has oppressed me so much that I can quit a job whenever I can. I made films, and I played in a band. I could travel overseas, cash in some of my super, get a job whenever I feel like it, and to get whatever book I wanted. So the patriarchy moved, but it should have just kept its hands where its head was. It should have just, it should have stopped. It should have just, realizing that there's just some cancer, some white ants, and just cut it out and just said, this, like Hungary, I suppose, like, we've got to make a stand with this. This is portent. John Howard could have done it. The fucking wank. He had 11 years. He could have just sat down and just explained to people, like, okay, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. Rather than go all this merchant bank corporate stuff of union bashing.
Yeah, because he was Prime Minister for 11 3/4 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, just a jerk. That idiot in Port Arthur went crazy with that assault rifle. So what do? Just take guns off registered gun users, like responsible people, because of one damaged half-wit went crazy. Martin Bryan, what his name was.
Yeah, that's it. That was exactly his name.
Absolute fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Fucking coward. And there's just like decent folk, decent gun owners. So he's just part of that cabal thing of where you just take weapons off people so they can't defend themselves anymore. And the ones that got the weapons are the criminals. And that's just absolute fucking bullshit. Absolute bullshit.
The one good thing that Tony Abbott did was that he made, men and women more equal by cutting, obviously, women's domestic violence money. Because obviously, that we get fuck all, of course. And obviously, that was partly why the 2014 budget, why the legacy media hated it so much.
I see.
Yeah.
Because he's got a job in England, and I think they're trying to block him there, calling him a misogynist.
Yeah, exactly.
Trade rep or in the embassy, maybe. But there was a big...
Oh, yeah. What's it called? Advise the British government on trade.
Yeah, he was all right in opposition, but Prime Minister, he was hopeless. And
absolutely.
Just under... Yeah, it was...
That was the one good thing he did, though. Like I'd said, the one good thing he did was that he made us more equal. But obviously, it wasn't the equality that they wanted. So obviously they were outraged by that.
So
they don't really want equality. They want special treatment.
Yeah. It was that all men are evil and all that stuff. And it was the patriarchy. There was that thing of whether I wanted to have some levy for Medicare or something like that.
And like what you were saying before, about what's it called, being triggered, by something that just simply has the word man in it. Yet they say that no, we're not man hating.
And that's really depressing. But in a way, I hate that word as well. Empowering. They're always talking about empowering women and girls.
But telling them how oppressed they are.
That World Economic Forum thing, that Dr. Strangelove bloke, I think that's on that agenda, and the same as the UN. They all just seem to be working in tandem, empowering women and girls.
Yeah.
And I thought, get on the winning team, mate. Get on, there's resisting is hard work because it's just like this avalanche, like you're saying, how could you change it? It'd take a nuclear blast really to change it. It's just got to run its course and
let it collapse.
And following the patterns of history, that it'll get eaten out within. Somebody will come in and kick the door. It'll be really horrible for a while. But things based on dishonesty or untrue motives don't last very long. They just start fraying at the edges, and there's a lot of infighting, and the left are famous for infighting. They seem pretty united at the moment, but they'll just start, once some sleepy creepy Joe gets in, they'll realise that he's got an agenda, and he doesn't really give a shit about people, like he was saying on that is it Charlemagne the God, that Breakfast Club show, that if you ain't black, if you don't vote Democrat, you ain't black.
Well, I just think it's so hilarious that BLM voted for the most pro-police brutality ticket in American political history.
You'll see some shit now. You'll see some shit. Like he's going to give citizenship to 10 million illegals.
He legislated police brutality when I was 4.
Yeah, and he had that Crimes Act.
Yeah. Exactly.
I tell people about that. Him and Colonel Sanders drafted it, didn't they? Bernie
Well,
Sanders.
Camilla Harris, she personally prosecuted them.
As she was listening to Tupac. She got all the dates wrong, about, what's your favorite? Oh, Tupac, and it was like way before Tupac was big.
Mm.
She was protecting bloody Jesuit child molesters too. She fobbed that off when she was state prosecutor.
Oh, I didn't hear about that. I did hear that obviously, that she tried to, what's it called? She withheld evidence to save someone on death row. Did you hear about that story?
No. I might look it up, but
yeah, that was what I
heard enough of her where I think she sucked her way to the top.
Yeah.
And she always talks about person of color, and they did some research on her background. And
she's the whitest black person I've ever seen.
Yeah, she's got Indian heritage and Jamaican or something.
That's exactly right.
Caribbean, and they were slave owners.
Yeah.
So the Democrats, people don't realise it. The Democrats are the ones of slavery.
Yeah.
They love it, and socialism is all about slavery as well.
Mm.
You'll pay a cleaner the same wage as a doctor.
Enslaved by the state.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's probably an average wage. In Cuba, you look up the OEC, the Observatory of Economic Complexity, and you look at the average wage in Cuba, and there's no incentive for a doctor to do anything extra. If he's getting the same wage as a janitor, it's $40 a month, and you get rations.
I've seen that their hospitals look like trash, look like absolute trash. Literal shitholes.
Yeah, because it's just all this divvied out, all the centrally planned economy. Government got its hands on the levers. And of course, if they're all getting shitty wages, there's no incentive to do your job properly. It's all just look after your friends. I worked for Australia Post for a while, and that was almost pure. It struck me as like a socialist model, really.
I was about to say, were they just as shit back then as they are now?
Yep. They
lining their own pockets.
Even more. Yep, you have all these elites in the ivory tower. You don't see them. You have all these workers. No incentive to do anything well. No rewards. All little groups. It's just like the Soviet Union. All little groups, all cliquey little groups who you look after each other. There's all this, duty of care, but that's just all bullshit. That's just window dressing.
Yeah.
And what's that saying? The nail that sticks out will get hammered down, and it's just all the same, and it's just no one gives a shit, and there's no incentive, and it's not a meritocracy. It's just everything's under a fine-tooth comb and all institutionalized, and we got the stupid shit show now where they've gone on their 5-year plan right in the middle of the pandemic.
Well,
because it's going broke.
I have this gut feeling that it's a plandemic, and that's part of the plan.
Could be. There's a lot of conspiracy theories floating around. Everything from the Ashkenazi Jews collaborating with the Jesuits for a new world order, and everything. I got sucked into it for a bit.
I'll tell you what isn't a conspiracy theory: TikTok nurses.
Empty hospitals. Yeah,
exactly.
I just think the lack of transparency has been one of our downfalls. I was thinking about what you're saying. If you're dictator for 10 years, I thought of that a while ago. When you're sort of idealistic, you think, I could just do this. If I could just basically make the West like every other country. It's got sovereign borders.
Yep.
Got pretty strict rules.
I mean, even if you wanted to be a social, free market libertarian, but like I'd said, I mean, you could do that, but to me, these, people in the top left-hand corner of the political compass will not stop being a problem until you physically remove them. So they're not around to be a problem anymore.
Well, that's what's happening now, isn't it? They're starting to purge on platforms.
Yeah, but
more
that's
surveillance.
That's not what I'm talking about, though. What I'm talking about is obviously, physically removing the people that obviously, like I'd said, are a threat to our freedom and quality of life. Because, the Australian people do not deserve for that to happen to them.
No, they don't. Most people just want to have a pretty good life and make their lives better.
Yeah, exactly. It's a request that absolutely should be granted.
It has felt like with a pandemic, it's been a coup.
Yeah.
I think there's lots of little laws that were written some time ago that are buried at the back of some new policy that enable all these emergency powers that are just so heavy-handed. And you watch the way the Victorian government's gone.
Absolutely.
In successive premiers, no matter which party's in, it's got less transparent, less communicative, less compassionate, and more hard line. Like there's been a long-term plan in the works to enslave men and give women more power because, like Maureen says, they're more agreeable. So I go along with stupid ideas like feminism and socialism and social justice. I go along with it because they're not interested in politics. They don't know much about history. They're not interested in anything but just what they can grab out of stuff. Hypergamy.
Yeah.
There's some intellectuals and forward thinkers.
That's why
admiration.
That's why I was saying gluttonous, because they're just feeding off it.
Yeah, they'll just go with the winning team. Female concentration camp guards having a great time. You look at the wife in Buchenwald, Ilse Koch. Talk about women being oppressed by the patriarchy. She used to make lampshades and gloves out of tattooed prisoners' skin in the concentration camps.
Did you hear that there was a British female feminist that literally said that that's what should happen to us? We should be put into concentration camps. And, what's it called? Our women would occasionally come and check in on us. We'd occasionally get some exercise.
I think that's coming in the way you've described that, of people saying there should be lists of Trump supporters. And I was saying, like there's a social media purge and deplatforming. It'll come to now of like, individualists are a threat, MGTOW are a threat. They'll all be a purge because this whole collectivist slavery-centric socialism that they're wanting, both the left and the right, because it benefits them. Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, all those elites, they don't care. They don't care so long as there's slaves there to keep the wheels turning and keep the cash coming in. They wouldn't care who's in power. They're probably making donations to both sides if it means it's going to be elites are going to be left alone. They could put people in camps. How else are you going to get men to work? You're not going to get them to work voluntarily if they're walking off the plantation.
Because that's exactly what conservatives are, that provided the GDP, gross domestic product, is still increasing. That provided that's the case, then we're willing to put up with obviously all the degeneracy.
Yep. And you got the left wing hating them, but you listen to 3AW, it's like consume family values. The good old days. Remember when? You're married. Well done, mate. Quite a few of the staff at 3AM have got Asian brides because Aussie women are such hard work. But hopefully they'll find a pliable Asian woman, but good luck there, mate. Usually marry the whole village when you, or the whole family when you marry an Asian woman. And as conservatives, they'll just want men to keep on just slaving away, dutifully, obediently going off to the factories. They don't give a shit. I listened to 3AA quite intensively once I realised that ABC was just totally feminised and they were just kicking men out and replacing them with women. I started listening to 3AW thinking, what's your angle, buddy?
I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, I obviously like a booming economy, you know, but I, you know, I'd like obviously to have like a civilized, you know, society, if you get what I'm saying. You know, I don't obviously, you know, I don't think that there should be any degeneracy, because to me that devalues the country.
Well, once you get those morals that have been eroded, that like the church used to be like the foundation for morals and education.
Yeah.
And pretty well when it got organised, it just started to decline. So you have that Reformation where people saying, like, there's a Catholic Church wanting people to pay for these indulgences, you know, to free them from sin. You know, you pay us money. It's like this extortion. So you get Martin Luther and the Calvinists all just splitting off and thinking, well, we can talk to God directly. And so the Catholics having a big population had to be irrelevant. So they just start with your Jesuit order, which gets on missionary work and setting up communes and having heavy education. And how can you reverse that? It's been happening over centuries. You know, how could you turn back that tide when it's gone through every part? And so people lose faith in God and organised religion. You know, I meet heaps of Catholics or ex-Catholics, you know, and they think, oh God, I can't believe in God after going through that. And I said, you've got to separate it. You've got to find because with the 12-step thing, you've got to find a higher power, better than your best thinking, which wants to kill you. You've got to find a power greater than you that loves you. And a lot of people can't do it. Oh, it's brought up Catholic and everything like that. I said, if you look in the Bible, Einstein, it says, find God in your own room, you know, within. You got to find it within. It's not religious, it's spiritual, what you can draw in on the inside. And I think the only thing that will save the planet after much damage being done, because it's just the minions of Satan are running around the earth, it's got to be a spiritual awakening where people get back to something where it gets your morals and the degeneracy is like weeded out. It's like no more slut works. Put your goddamn clothes on. Get some freaking work. Dig some potatoes. They're not doing it.
Yeah.
It's just more fun to destroy it. You know, girls want to have fun, and hear them roar. So that's where I think let it begin with me, because I can't change anything. I can't be Tito or Khrushchev or any of those Che Guevara.
Who was Christoph?
Get my face tattooed on someone's back or something.
Who was Christoph?
Khrushchev, Nikolai Khrushchev in Soviet Russia. He took over after Stalin, and he was more moderate than Stalin, which
wasn't hard.
Yeah, I think he de-Stalinized the place a bit, but he was still into brinkmanship with the West with missiles, but he didn't push the button. They realized that no one would win if they had a nuclear war, and he was all right, I suppose, Khrushchev. And then they went into period of
easily the obviously the closest to the center, Gorbachev.
Yeah, he made some tough decisions, and I think they had a rock concert in Moscow when Gorbachev was in, and all his rockers went over there, Motley Crue and a few other bands, maybe Bon Jovi, and they went to downtown Moscow to do some shopping, and there was nothing there. There was nothing. Maybe a mouldy old potato and a stale loaf of bread. Yeah, because they were like, "Oh my God, the food is shit."
Because he was the last. He was the last one, obviously. You know, in Soviet Russia. You know.
Yeah, that was like the end of it, because
Exactly. That the best communist was the one that obviously saw the end of communism.
Yeah, a bit of openness, because I think they realised they had that period of stagnation. Khrushchev, they had Brezhnev, there were some really bland people, and
empty supermarkets, like you were saying.
Yeah, and a lot of money. Reagan, I think, drained a lot of money of the Soviet because with the arms race. He was just like, I think he knew that. What's Maggie Thatcher said? Socialism fails when it runs out of other people's money.
Yeah, exactly right.
Because
the problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of other people's money.
Yep. Yeah, it's all just based on robbery. The very thing they accuse the capitalists of.
Yeah.
Because they just start stealing off the capitalists and purging to get everybody fearful. They're just purging anyone. You purge
and how hilarious
aristocracy.
And how hilarious is it when communists lecture you on stolen land?
I think, what's that buzzword? Cognitive dissonance.
Because obviously that's the thing that communists are known for doing.
Yeah. Just
stealing your property.
Yep. Yeah. And there's a lot of propaganda about Cuba, Batista. Things actually got better under Batista, like harsh military dictator like Pinochet. But you realise they're only harsh on the people that are just trying to destabilise the country. That Cuba, I think it was a bit of a brothel and a bit of a casino for Americans, but shit, that's money coming in. Look at Crown Casino, that's still going under Chairman Dan. He's probably getting quite a lot of royalties, taxes out of that.
He's constantly, forever having his snout in the trough. Was Batista the guy immediately before, Fidel Castro?
Yep. And Castro in Cuba, you still get the cars from the Batista era there. Like, if the evil capitalists were so bad, why don't they just, turn all the American cars into bloody corrugated iron houses? Why not just melt all these symbols of capitalism down? But no, they got these cars that are, probably got bits of 44-gallon drum, panel beaded into them, and quite a smooth job.
Yeah.
I suppose in communist countries, you got nothing but time. You got your rations, but they will just take money. They'll put money there. Okay, we got this centrally planned thing of like, okay, we'll just work on our bloody producing metals, producing iron and steel. So just put all these resources and get all these peasants and forcibly get them there and get them into furnaces and just start doing this. And they produce this really low quality stuff. And I go, oh, well, might as well pour some more resources into it, try and make it work for the 5-year plan. Because if they're not ticking the boxes, they'll get purged. It's just retarded. There's nothing works like the free market. I'm no businessman, no entrepreneur. I haven't got a business bone in my body. But looking around at the standard of living and the way Westerners have governed things without having to get too brutal. Like you look at, I was born and raised in Fiji, the colonial patriarchy, and the Fijians stopped cannibalism. They introduced Christianity, which the Fijians liked, as the idea of blood sacrifice and eating the body of Christ. Cannibalism, no, we can relate to that. And it unified them. And where it's a pretty Christian country and they observe the Sabbath, and it's the glue that holds the country together, as well as family, country, and the law. But the West, they're agitating communists. There's a lot of communists started going there with the trade unions. Australian trade unions went over there and started agitating for communist things, which some things had to be fixed up. There was a bit of exploitation, quite a bit of exploitation by oil companies there.
With communism, everything needs to be fixed up.
Yeah, and they make it Yeah, and people go, oh, well, we'll have that. It sounds like a really good thing. We're all getting enough to eat. And what they don't realise, to keep that stability and keep them in power, because there's no elections, they've just got to purge. Yeah, just got to purge and coerce. Coercion.
Yeah.
You know, all the anarchists, all the communists all whinge about, oh, capitalism is about coercion. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And so is fucking everything else. Like, I look at my chickens, 7 chickens, all female, 3 older ones. They beat up the 2 single mothers and deprive the single mothers food of the chicks. I mean, it's an all feet. There's no roosters there to keep them in line, to give them the patriarchy. This is all a matriarchy, all these chickens out here. And the older ones will happily deprive the single mothers of food. That's God creation, the patriarchy. Or is it evolutionary biology? I don't know, but it's just freaking ruthless.
Isn't it hilarious how communism was supposed to, you know, be, of course, workers, you know, for the workers, you know, ideology, and obviously, it's you know, instead of obviously what's it called, like their target audience were the workers, but obviously it's turned out that obviously it's ended up being, you know, of course, feminist women, you know,
Karens.
Yeah. Isn't that hilarious?
Workers are well united, got nothing to lose but your chains. And Marx was hoping that I mean, it died before World War One, but the communists were hoping that in World War One, all the men would say, no, we're not going to go to war. We're just going to have a workers' revolution, seize the means of production.
Yeah.
Because that's the main thing with communism, isn't it? Property ownership is bad. Private property is theft.
Yep.
And to seize the means of production. And the workers went dutifully off to war because you had all these suffragettes giving them white feathers if they didn't. Feminists giving them white feathers to go after the slaughter. Then saying, where have all the good men gone?
It's so funny that obviously it's, you know, the fact that obviously it's changed so much from obviously exactly what you said to now being obviously just being fucking full degenerate, you know, full degeneracy of, you know,
morals.
obviously we're seeing it, of course, you know, here in Victoria, you know, with the degeneracy, you know, with, you know, having, you know, what's it called? You know, safe schools, you know, sexually grooming kids, you know, that are, you know, fucking kindergartners, you know, target age 4.
Yeah, they start to have like
what's it called?
Hormone blockers.
Respectful relationships. You know, that's another degenerate program. Of course, for, you know, it's a feminist program.
I haven't heard of that. Could look it out because it's state-sponsored retardation, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You know,
they call it social engineering. Yeah, government right behind it with taxpayers' money.
Yeah,
things that will actually make you feel more insecure at work because you've got to tread on your tiptoe around at work, be respectful, not be inappropriate, watch what you say, have the right think. Otherwise, you can lose your job.
We're now in another day.
Yeah, it was a fellow at work, a Greek bloke. He had a Che Guevara tattooed on his back. He became the union steward.
Yeah.
And there was a few redneck racist bogans there, like, you know, the ones that are all the domestic violence are, you know, like the 1%. You know, feminists rather would happily jail 100% of men if they could just get that 1%. I mean, that's how callous they are. This this Che Guevara, union activist, everybody hated him. Like, he was in amongst the bogans, they all hated him, and he didn't take any shit from them. And one of them said in the lunchroom, talking to somebody else, well, he's a bloody jippo, isn't he? and now Che Guevara got triggered, dobbed him in for a harmful, and this other bloke, he got threatened with a sack and got transferred for a year. I mean, it was a pig anyway. But armchair Che Guevara, he got this fella, he could have got him the sack for just saying Jippo, which wasn't even addressed at him. And to have a whole place walking on eggshells like that is pretty demoralising. I mean, not that I had any sympathy for these meatheads, because they, like I was saying earlier about all these meatheads, they all hold each other back, and you've got to say all the right stuff. But this wokeness just coming in like that, just to upset the apple cart, it was kind of funny in a way. It was kind of perverse, but it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Because it was good to see these bogans squirm that are just, just stuck in the 1970s. All of their taste in music is all just, Skyhooks or AC/DC still, all that rubbish.
I mean, California is California, they are so left, they are AIDS left. They legalized you having sex with someone, knowing that you have AIDS, and legalized you not having to tell them.
What is the idea behind that? It used to be, wasn't that attempted murder for a while there, like knowingly giving somebody AIDS?
Well, I mean, it doesn't get any more degenerate than that.
There must be a plan to all that madness, because the homelessness is just crazy, and there's companies moving out. Elon Musk, they're going to red states now. What is the idea behind that? Is it to just free up the prisons and put more domestic violence people in there?
Well, did you see that the Republicans flipped 3 House seats in California? So, I mean, it must be, I think, the light bulbs, just starting to go off now that I think we're in trouble. And I think that obviously, we have to change course,
Well, there's a lot of veterans, and I think rural America could be a hope. That's what I think they were hoping at the Capitol thing, that there would be a bit of unity and a little bit of taking the country back. And whether it was hijacked, the media will just paint it as bloody white supremacy anyway. But
yeah,
there's a lot of veterans that live in California. There's a lot of pissed off veterans.
Yeah.
And you, like on Zoom and some meetings, people from California, and even you're not meant to talk about politics at AA meetings, but they do. Saying, "Oh, thank God the election, is over." And I'm thinking, you're a freaking retard. What have you got to gain by the Democrats getting in? More of California, more of a decline, more homeless, more shooting up in the street or shitting in the street, or knowingly infecting people with AIDS, and
exactly,
not being a felony.
Yeah.
But what if a man did it to a woman? Surely that would be a felony. What my feeling is, they're trying to stop mingling between males and females. Sure enough, if you have your Muslim no-go zones like they got in Paris, and they're getting increasingly in the UK, they can do what they like. They've got their Sharia law, and the cops don't go in there. Yeah,
well, I mean, it's Safe Schools is
Stockholm, Sweden.
Has, of course, they what's it called? The cover is that it's an anti-bullying program, but the founder admitted unknowingly, unwittingly on camera, that it's, has nothing to do with bullying. It's sexual diversity, and the whole point of that obviously is, it's all part of Agenda 21, depopulation, that obviously if, you sexually groom them, getting involved, obviously, in their sexuality, and of course, they don't obviously reproduce.
I'll have to look into that because I've made a conscious effort to, because I don't have kids, or I've got a grown-up kid, to just avoid children altogether.
Yeah.
That demonization of men, if
I understand.
man walking past a playground, the mother will run over and grab him. Oh, Tarquin. Oh, your allergies, Tarquin. Oh, the boogeyman, all that sort of stuff. How sexist is that? So I just stay away from kids. Just that fucking demonization. I just don't want to go through that mind fuck. When I moved down here, there was a march. They had the 12 days or 16 days of activism around December of activism about raising awareness of domestic violence.
Yeah.
They had a march, had all these kids with T-shirts of domestic violence, silences violence, talk about domestic violence. Let's open the conversation about domestic violence, men's gender-based violence. So I saw these kids in the street. I crossed the street. I just think, well, we're the niggers now. We should just have little stars on us, white hetero men should have a Star of David on it,
exactly.
Because that's that ramping up that Hitler did, and it's basically what when Muslims do it too. They did the same as Hitler did, the same as what the Muslims did. He was a big fan of Islam. He helped set up the Muslim Brotherhood in 1930.
Yeah,
is that what you do is bit by bit it creeps in. Like with the Jews, you make them wear a star, and then if you're on the footpath, the Jews have got to get off the footpath. And then it ramps up a bit. You start trashing the shops and stealing their stuff. And the ones that are rich or clued get the hell out of the country if they can. And you also have the media just saying, oh, no, stay brave, make a stand, which they didn't. And they were sold a lie, the Jews in there. They were sold down the river by their own people as much as the Nazis. To not to get the fuck out en masse. Like, why in the hell wouldn't you get out if you got people shoving you off the footpath, a dominant culture? And I'm seeing that now. It's just, make a list of all Trump supporters. I'm glad I'm not in America. That's why I don't really want to have any opinion on it, because I think what a shame that people can't see there's somebody trying to save the country. And all this propaganda media is just absolute bullshit.
Exactly.
The blatant hypocrisy.
He's the first president since Carter to not, start another war.
Even Carter had those Iran, maybe it was a hostage thing or something. It was helicopters in Iran.
But I saw this chart that everyone after Carter had started, another regime change war. And that, because it went as far back as Carter, that everyone in between Carter and Trump had all started regime change wars.
They've probably all got shares in the military and the industrial and all the gun
the industrial complex. Exactly right. Yeah.
Because the demon rats, they're coming for the guns, the Second Amendment. They'll be up the same as Howard. They'll just do that same thing. Yeah. But the military industrial complex will be all right, because they'll be just giving guns to the bloody evildoers. Yeah. They'll still be all right. And I forecast there'll be a war within a year of Biden being sworn in. Trump's got to pull something special out of his ass. They keep on all this QAnon stuff. They keep on saying, oh, yeah, release the Kraken, and Trump will do this. And he won't. He's got too many people that hate him, and
I think that
keeping this false narrative that he's going to actually do something. He can't.
I think receipt dropping day was the 6th of January over there. Pretty much missed the boat, if you get what I'm saying. Yeah, that was the day. The receipts had to be dropped, and they weren't. And really, what else could Mike Pence do? but obviously go along with, unfortunately, the official story.
Yeah, he's got too much against him. And,
Yeah.
I mean, they say that, I got a friend that sends me all this QAnon stuff. And they're saying, oh, they got Nancy Pelosi's laptop and rah, rah, rah. But look what happened to Hunter Biden's laptop. Like, he had a lot of filthy stuff on there.
Exactly. And obviously that was conveniently ignored.
Yep.
Yeah.
He had some great minds on it and went through all the stuff and even gave stuff to some Chinese news channels.
In fact, actually, they called that what's it
Guy
called?
being
Russian
naked with a
propaganda, didn't
Chinese
they?
girl.
I think they passed that off as Russian propaganda.
Yep. Yeah. They do that every time when Hunter Biden, he's had really dodgy deals in the Ukraine and some other thing of consultancy or something. He paid a few million for doing nothing.
Hunter Biden was getting paid $50,000 a month for something he knew nothing about. From
the Russians?
Yeah, being on obviously a gas or energy board.
Oh, Bullasaros. Yeah. And the nerve, how they've got away with that. Of just every time, Russian collusion in the election. And like that. And it's just got so twisted and perverted that I'm amazing Trump has just kept his cool all through this.
He's been, I believe, he's been the best, he's obviously, one-term wonder. The best one-term president, I think, in American history.
Yeah, there was that horrible 3 strikes, was it the Crimes Act that Colonel Sanders and Biden wrote it? I think, did Biden write the Patriot Act, or there was something other horrible like that?
Oh wait, you're talking about Bernie Sanders, aren't you?
Yeah, Colonel Sanders.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about the literal Colonel Sanders of KFC.
I'll call him Colonel Sanders. I mean, he just reminds me of him.
Yeah.
And they had that 3 strikes in which put a lot of black people in jail. Hell of a lot of black people in jail over, 3 strikes. Get caught with a couple of joints. There's people still in jail now. And Trump said a lot. He signed that First Step Act, and that. I told Maureen about it. I was like, well, I don't like the way Trump talks. And I'm thinking, not what he talks, is what he's doing. The content of your character, for God's sake.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, such a white supremacist for someone that's, what's it called? He's, enabled African Americans to start up their small businesses. I'm trying to remember what's it called. I think he tripled African American entrepreneurship. In like 2018 financial year. He's, bailed them out of jail with obviously, criminal justice reform. And he also bailed out an African-American in another continent.
Didn't hear about that.
In Sweden.
He got no thanks for that. Like,
exactly.
Just the blacks just mindlessly vote Democrat there.
Yeah.
Most of them. And there's some black conservatives that have just been chipping away and getting a little bit of support, but it's just overriding, crazy support. You think Biden's going to make anything different? Like, just that interview that he had with Cardi B, that whore. Oh, it was just.
That was a very revealing interview that he gave with Charlemagne. It really. It wasn't a surprise, but obviously, it exposed, of course, exactly, it's not just the leftist politicians, but, their base think exactly like that too. That you're not black if you don't vote for us. If you don't vote for us, you're not really black.
If you ain't in jail, you ain't black. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
so mindless. They're a bit sheep-like, the black community.
Yeah.
I'll say, yeah, you're not politically black. Yeah.
I mean, like, I think obviously, you can, just because you're born black, doesn't at all mean that obviously, you don't have any ability, doesn't mean you don't have any, potential, ability to succeed, or anything like that. But like, I saw this hilarious joke that was saying, what's it called? It said at the end, the punchline was that now you just got to convince African Americans, or blacks. I think blacks was the term that was used, that crime is gay.
Crime is gay. Maybe they'd go with it because
what's it called?
They tried everything else.
They wouldn't do like something like ballet or some shit because it's gay, but like, so flexible, evading the police, and it was such a great response to that. You just got to convince them now that that crime is gay so that they won't do it.
They could try that tack because they sort of, it's like they're children, like they're just rebels, like resisting arrest and being enabled by the whole freaking thing. Like, I think that there's another mob, IBMOR. There's another black group that are just starting to just think, fuck, let's get the hell out of here. Because they're saying like white people, they might just marry 3 different women, like Robin Williams, like, 3 wives, and they just took him for all he's got, it killed him.
Yeah.
But in the black community, they'll have children to 3 different women. The women will just bang, Tyrone comes along and he's looking pretty fresh and pretty sharp, and
Tyrone.
So she'll be getting child support from 3 different men. And, if you can put you in jail on the grounds of losing your job, you'll just be in jail. No child support, no liberty. Just chuck you in jail. You can just stay there.
Yeah.
And he's going to bloody employ a felon after that. And I just wish more would just wake up. You realise you just got to think with your big head. You got to stay away from these bloody hoochie mamas. And that's what I think a lot of men, because they won't criticise women, because, like Bill Burr says, because they want to fuck them. That reproductive urge is so strong. I found myself in my younger days, like, defending women, just thinking, oh, gee, they get it tougher, the just blokes hitting them on all the time, but they're all right. They work out at a pretty young age. They can either be a worker, be ambitious, become an astronaut, or just be a whore. Mate, and a lot just choose to basically be a whore.
I've thoroughly enjoyed this, but like, I see no end to this conversation.
We're working on the problems of the world here, mate. All I can see, or what would you do if you had? Maybe we should wrap it up soon. What would you do if you asked me a question about what would I do if I was world dictator? I'd just have to see, well, you'd have to go full Marshal Tito, full Stalin, and just
bash the fuck out of that abolish button.
Purge. Yeah, purge is the only thing, because that's going to happen to us. What would you do?
Like I'd said, learn from what Pinochet did wrong. Try to, figure out, ways of being able to identify the, that, the 1%, that's in that top left-hand corner of the little compass, so I can throw them out of helicopters, from a great height without a parachute, and abolish, obviously, everything that they believe in. you know, because as we were saying, it's degenerate, you know, it's absolute trash. And basically pretty much run, you know, the motto of the government would be, enjoy freedom and don't be a fuckwit.
And how do you got a lot to unravel there, isn't it? Like,
absolutely.
Pretty tough decisions to make.
Because I think that unfortunately, there'd probably be 1% of those people, I think, that I'd be throwing out of helicopters. Because obviously I would think, well, it's, you know, it's in your interest to say that you aren't obviously, you know, the enemy, you know, demographic kind of thing. So there'd probably be 1% of those people that'd be throwing out of helicopters, obviously, unfortunately for them, that would not, you know, fit that description. Because, you know, I'm talking about people that, like, you know, shut down a boring psychiatrist.
That's the thing with the purge. When's it going to stop?
Well, mate, if you don't purge them, this shit's just going to continue.
Yeah, there's makers and there's takers.
Yeah, I think they won't stop.
You start with the takers and give them an opportunity. You've got to be fully self-supporting, or you can just work it out for yourself. Probably, like the South wanted to secede. I remember Western Australia's wanting to secede, you know, because they're a productive state.
Because they won't stop. They won't stop until they drop. That's the reason that I want to purge them. You know, and I mean, you know, you could, I guess, compromise and say, well, you know, what about just incarcerating them? You know, putting them in jail. But, you know, they're such a head fuck. You know, like they have the worst ideas and, you know, conveniently, or, you know, inconveniently for us, obviously, the loudest voices. You know, they are absolute ear cancer.
Yeah.
So that's my argument to that. You know, why obviously incarceration isn't enough.
Yeah. Because they're takers and they don't produce anything. I suppose the most humane thing would do secede, either give them South Australia and Northern Territory or something, or just somewhere where you go and commune with nature and you can play didgeridoos at the markets and have your fire twirling and raise awareness and go broke and get woke, go broke. That's what it's going to do.
If they were just takers, I wouldn't even have a problem with that. It's like you were saying before, you know, being totally unappreciative, you know, of what people do for you, you know, because these people that you know, whine about how oppressed they aren't oppressed. They're pathetic. Yeah,
well, it's looking for anything now. Yeah, any microaggressions. Endless banging on about racism, or now it's with aging cat ladies, aging feminists, the superannuation pay gap.
Yeah,
and like just squeezing every bit out of it. And because you get people that don't really want to work, and it's just easy to complain, and they're just given a script. They didn't think of this stuff for themselves. They didn't think it up. Like that's why I avoided university. I just thought after goddamn high school, after that, I didn't want any more tertiary parroting off a blackboard of some bloody idiot teacher I didn't really like.
Yeah.
Like I could have done film study, but you end up at the ABC. Got a film and television school. You send up the ABC, and they got more feminized. It's just a waste of time. I'd rather go my own way and work out my own philosophy.
Yeah.
And which is basically just an individualist and just trying to avoid all these stupid people like the plague. It was, the clowns next door, they were talking about believe the science. And I said, well, where I was living in Ivanhoe, there was all these, you know, vote Greens placards, and none of them had water tanks or solar panels. And
they don't believe the biological science, do they?
No, it just it just feels good, doesn't it? It just feels good, feels right, and you feel, oh, you're part of it, and you think, you don't realise that you're actually doing damage because you've got people around you, you know, like our actions affect at least 10 people around us. Like if I'm an alcoholic or if I'm a rabid armchair Che Guevara, and I saw it with the half-wits next door. This half-wit showed up. She's just complains all the time and hates men. And so all her kids are like that too, you know. I don't believe the science, and I'm working in an eco refuge, and yes, we're like harming native animals that are affected by bushfires. And I think, I don't give a fuck if people cause the bushfires. You can't even pick up a twig on the road without permission here.
Yeah.
You have to go to special areas at a certain time of the year and collect your firewood from, fuck.
Yeah. And I mean, I
You
just...
can't even pick up wood, so there's big wildfire, you know, bushfires, like mega fires now, because they've caused it, like the immigration. They have engineered it.
Yeah.
You know, these worst bushfires ever, which is the patriarchy's fault.
Oh, well, it was a few days after they incited it. You know, that they called for it on Q&A. It was a few days later.
They were calling
the
for what?
fire started. Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me in the least.
Yeah. And I mean, like I'd said, I mean, I don't hate these people because they aren't workhorses. I hate them because they want to fuck the workhorse. You know, the workhorses, obviously, of Australia that, you know, are really responsible, right, for, obviously, you know, in a good way, for the, you know, the freedoms and, you know, the standard of living that we have, you know, that's world class. You know,
yeah, well, it's just this artificial.
I mean, have you ever watched Animal Farm before?
I read the book ages ago.
You remember Boxer the horse, yeah?
No.
He gets absolutely fucked by these people. You know, obviously, you know, the fucking communist pigs. And I mean, they actually are literal pigs in Animal Farm.
And they have these savage attack dogs. That's what happens. They bring in the attack dogs to bring in some are equal, some are more equal than others.
They sent Boxer the horse to get slaughtered.
I'll have to have another look at it. I did like it when I read it.
Yeah.
I thought...
And that's exactly how they see the workhorse. The workhorse, you know, what's it called? It's not just, obviously, what's it called? Like I said, it's not that they aren't workhorses. It's the fact that, you know, the entitlement is through the roof. You know, that they expect, you know, so the workhorses should have to work for us. It's not, like you said, they're not grateful, you know, they're not gracious, you know, for it. They expect it.
And it's fun punishing men on the ABC, how smug they are. It's fun punishing it, saying that men talk over me and they held me back and took my ideas. And I'm thinking, I haven't heard a woman come up with an original idea in fucking years. Really. That's probably the most sexist thing you'd hear all day. But when's the last time in a workplace or anywhere that you heard a woman instigate anything to come up with an idea? I haven't heard it.
Well, I know that we've made 95% of the inventions. Not obviously you and I personally, but you know,
that's why I like Maureen. She's instigated something. She's initiated something.
Yeah, yes, and obviously, you know, good on her for doing so, man. Because I've really appreciated obviously what she's done for us and enabling us to obviously be able to have open discourse.
Yeah, it's good having a chat with you because she wants to. I love the West. I think she wants to save the West.
Yeah.
She's got her own lefty sort of thing, and I think, well,
yeah,
there's parts of that I like about gardening and permaculture.
Yeah, well, it's exactly what I said before. Like, you know, I think obviously, you know, the libertarian left have the right to party, and the libertarian right have the right to make money. you know, and who are the, you know, the people that are, you know, in the very top left-hand corner of the political compass to stop them. Who are they to stop them? They have no right.
It's a grab for power.
Hmm.
It's a grab for power, and they're playing every dirty trick in the book to do it. And you think, if they're doing that to get power, how honest they got to be when they get the power? They're not going to be honest. It's going to be ugly.
Absolutely.
And people don't see that, and it's the most stupidest thing. Like, I think women will just go along with the winning team, basically. Most of them. I'll just go along with the winning team.
Well, I mean, that's exactly how Maureen said she was thinking. You know, that obviously, you know, when she was thinking Trump was going to win, well, you know, obviously at least he's going to, you know, continue doing those good things. And then when he was losing, she switched. So yeah, that's, you know, backs up what you were saying. I mean, obviously I don't want to throw Maureen under the bus at all, you know, because obviously, you know, I like her, you know, she cares about, obviously, you know, not just her own rights, but obviously our rights as well, you know, obviously the Australian people. But, you know, I wonder if obviously, you know, like they're biologically wired to think that way.
Well, if they're in that position where they've been fed a whole lot of bullshit about I'm woman, hear me roar,
yeah,
but in effect they are weak and rely on men for everything, they will go for the winning team.
Yeah.
For the hypergamous instinct.
Yeah.
Hypergamy.
So, like, obviously, if Trump was re-elected, then obviously the attitude would be that you know, oh well, that's, you know, what the people want, kind of thing. You know, that's like the majority or whatever. So therefore, they would go along with it because that's like the will of the people, is what you're saying.
Yeah. And but he's just got everything against him. Yeah, like not starting any wars, no credit for that.
Yeah,
signing an agreement to clean up the oceans, no credit for that. No wars. With Obama, who was just George Bush Mark II, like he sold out to Goldman Sachs. All his administration was all Wall Street people.
What's it called? The intellectual equivalent of George Bush.
Yeah.
Of Junior.
Talking about the gender wage gap and women can do it better, and women are going, woo, women can do it better, even in heels, better than men. Woo.
I was literally just thinking,
what a mangina
of that saying that he said, you know, like walking backwards in high heels. I was literally just thinking of that saying.
He was a total simp. You know, he was a total simp. And, you know, they promised so much. And I thought when he came in, oh, good, you know, that hope and change. And after a while, you think, well, it's just going on. It's just going on, this whole corrosive narrative. And, you know, you realise it's just down to the personalities a lot. Like I say, women are the majority of the voting public. So they'll vote for him because he's handsome, charismatic, and is good at speeches.
And I won't lie, man, you know, like I said at the very beginning, you know, I got on the Trump train, you know, very late. You know, I didn't like the guy at first, you know, because like I used to believe, you know, the legacy media, you know.
Wall Street capitalist.
Pretty much, yeah. But then I found, obviously, you know, the anti, you know, SJW feminist community on YouTube in late 2015. And obviously I couldn't deny that obviously, you know, this shit, you know, is retarded kind of thing, if you get what I'm saying, you know. And like I did used to believe, you know, the gender pay gap until you know, what's it called? You know, Christina Hoff Summers. Yeah.
Yeah.
When she
as a factual feminist or something.
when she said that if that really were the case, that obviously you can legally pay women less, why aren't there more of them working?
Bang.
Yeah, that's exactly right, man. Exactly right. And I
Hate
realized
speech.
that that's a a good point. And not only is that a good point, but I got no argument. I can't counter that at all.
Yeah, just have all these employ more women. Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd make more profits then. You'd make
Exactly.
heaps of profits.
Yeah.
Thing is, they take more time off. A lot
And
less
there have
productive.
always been more men that work than women, more men in the workforce than women. It's
Yep.
always been like that.
My daughter did a classic. She just did by the numbers what the manosphere said women do. Yeah, the cock carousel.
To quote, no holds barred.
Bad boys, Chad Thundercock, several Chad Thundercocks. Tries to settle down. That stuff's up. She gets more desperate. Never her fault. And she had to take a downgrade, and she eventually married this basically a bogan bulldozer driver up in country New South Wales. She went from Chad Thundercock with his flashy car and his flashy clothes and flashy attitude to she said to this bloke, him and his mates, they light fires with diesel. And I said, that's country. That's good. And she said, he's got guns. And I said, you'll be right then. You'll be right. Country boys. Like, it was a downgrade from her who was trying to appear sophisticated, dreaming of having a job on Getaway. That was her dream, to be like Catriona Roundtree.
Yeah.
To have a job, traveling the world, eating great food, staying in nice places, being pampered. And the reality was, Catriona Roundtree, they flogged her, like, fly her over somewhere, jet lag, there. All right, we got this schedule, bang, bang, we've got to go this, you got to do this, and look bright and perky for the camera. And to a young girl, it'd be like, oh, what a dream job. So she did an editing and publishing course, went into debt for it, did it at Fairfield Polytechnic. And I said to her, if you need a hand writing any short stories, let me know. I could just write one on the toilet. She said, no, I want to do this all myself. A year later, could you write me a short story? I went, sure. And I wrote one on the toilet, and not quite, but I just pumped one out in a couple of hours, just thought of a short story about a retarded gardener and yeah, just a short story, yeah. And it got a high distinction, and I just fucking cracked up. Like, she had to, I just wrote a draft, and she had to edit it and put it into female speak,
And you wrote for her, Catriona Roundtree of Getaway.
Yeah.
I used to watch that in the 90s, late 90s.
No, this is just for my daughter. My daughter, sorry, I was talking too fast. My daughter wanted to be like Catriona Roundtree.
Oh, right.
So she went and did a course.
That makes a lot more sense now, yeah.
Yeah, so I wrote it for my daughter, not Catriona Roundtree. No, she's she's on another level.
That's exactly what I was thinking. She's a celebrity.
But no, I could write a script for her, about the yummy food and the gourmet and the awesome views, but it'd be so boring. But for my daughter, I wrote this. And she got this worthless degree, and hasn't used it. Because I said, well, if you want to get anywhere in Melbourne as a writer, you got to start off at the bottom, really, unless you're lucky. Like a band, you've got to flog the circuit, you've got to kiss people's asses that you hate, and put your face out there. And she went, So she made some half-hearted attempts, but she hasn't used it since and still paying off the debt.
Yeah.
So these are people taking up space in colleges. And I didn't give her any money for the course. So I thought, well, you won't appreciate it. You do it yourself. And wacko the chook, she ends up as a housewife in the bush. Coming up to age 40, she just proudly announces, I don't think I'll ever work again. And I thought, I am not surprised. You've retired at 40. You have a kid, you find a hostage, you have a kid, you'll never work again. You know, she was like in London, you know, like party girl, and I'm working at a personal assistant on the London Olympics, and I'm living in a baccalaureate flat and all this, you know, modern girl power thing, to being a country housewife, because they get older and no man will want them. The sexual market value goes down the shit chute.
Yeah. I mean, the world really is at their feet when they're 18.
Yeah, and they want to, yeah.
And here they are wasting their time riding the cock carousel.
Yeah. And, you know, there's that saying that men age like wine and women age like milk. And it happens because get in their 30s and the wrinkles start to come and they just got less appealing.
Oh, the same happens to us. You know, obviously, you know, it's a gradual downhill process, you know, starting from 35.
Yeah, but in a way, men, because they're driven a lot more and we're hardwired to work, we end up a lot richer than they do. The only way they get rich is just court raping somebody. Very few do it. How many women do you know? How do you know that women you know that have worked 40 years in a job, have climbed the ladder in that job and have actually ended up supporting anybody?
Well, mum supports me. She used to work crazy hours, like 100-hour weeks, you know, back when she was young. You know, but like she's no CEO.
I rest my case. Because that's the thing.
Yeah. And mum is no idiot, you know. She's not stupid.
Yeah, not to take anything away from your mum's efforts.
Yeah.
But most I've met rarely support themselves, let alone anybody else.
But I mean, really, that's gonna, what's it called? I think just by saying that, obviously, if there are any women listening to this, you know, when it obviously gets put up on YouTube, I'm sorry to have said that, and obviously, you know, just smashed their dreams like I just have. But yeah, you know, mum she's not really respected for how hard she works. And like, you know, that's why I think the way that I do, you know, that, you know, I hate this fuck the workhorse mentality because it's not right. You know, so someone that obviously works hard, you know, obviously, you know, should be rewarded for it. Obviously, you know, for them to continue working hard, if you get what I'm saying. You know, if other people are going to benefit from their hard work, then they should be able to obviously benefit too.
Yeah, well, that's the way things are. There's just people are not rewarded for their efforts. So,
yeah. I mean, you know, it's so
anything,
wrong.
they're insulted for it. You know,
the school that mum works for, you know, treat her like a piece of dirt. And she works the hardest for them, does the most work for them. You know, she's a lab
other women doing it to other women.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
They are so fucking judgmental.
Yeah.
They can barely get through a day without being judgmental, like looking down their noses at you.
Yeah, and they tell the kids, you know, not to bully, you know, no bullying, you know, we're anti-bullying, you know, whilst they are bullying themselves.
Yep, that's going to bring the whole thing unraveling because, yeah, they talk about all that physical stuff. They don't realise that women with their minds, with all their mind games and all their shit tests and all their excluding and all their judgmentalness, and it's not even talked about. You can't even talk about it, can't even scrutinise it.
Yeah.
So they can step up at any age, you know, once they've ridden the cock carousel, they can just get up there and just demand, like, where have all the good men gone? You're all fucking trash, you know? You're all fucking incels. And you think, no, you've squandered your youth and your beauty, and you've got along with this feminist bullshit.
Well,
and now you're making demands like fuck off.
The good man,
You're retarded.
are correctly rejecting your bullshit.
Yeah, because that it's the basic thing I talk about the manosphere is like, what are you bringing to the table?
Yeah.
What are you bringing to the table apart from, depreciating looks? And let's face it, men will say, "Oh, you're only after my looks." Look how much women spend on trying to stay like the bloody little teenager, the little sweet little girl she once was.
Yeah,
with all the fake up and all the clothes and just the vanity about their looks.
Like you were saying, that, and obviously me too, that the workhorse needs to be appreciated for what they do, because I mean, you can't really blame them. Obviously, they continue not being appreciated, then they stop doing it, and that'll completely fuck Australia. That's why communism obviously is such a pathetic provider, because why should I continue working hard when you're effing me in the A, to put it obviously very nicely,
Yeah.
Why should I continue?
Yeah. Well,
and they stop, and obviously the famine happens.
Well, that allure to communism is sort of like free education, jobs for everyone, cheap housing, free housing.
I mean, the one thing
controls everything. Big daddy government.
The one thing, exactly right. The one thing I would say that I think, what's it called? I think there is one that's more justifiable than the other, right? And that is free healthcare. Obviously over free education, because free education does sound entitled. I'm entitled. What's it called? You should have to pay for my education. Sounds more entitled than pay for my healthcare. If you understand what I'm saying, because like if you're really sick, you get really sick, and you can't obviously pay for it yourself. That doesn't really seem, that unreasonable, obviously, for someone else to pay for your healthcare. But like for your education though, that does sound entitled.
Yeah, you mean tertiary education?
Yeah, pretty much, like obviously after high school.
Yeah, Gough Whitlam had free university for a while.
Yeah.
And this older bloke that I know, it was like, oh yeah, it was great. Gough Whitlam did this great education. But it was open to anybody if you could afford, it was just saying, oh, it was only for the rich and all that. Sure enough, there is a ruling class.
A lot of people spent it getting, what's it called? Having a piss up.
Yeah. But my dad was working class, and he was tertiary educated, and
yeah,
he just worked hard as well as having a wife and a family, and he put himself through school. He worked for it. He paid for it.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to do it. He had that hunger for it. And if you just have it free, it's just, you get people going in there, and it's just like, oh, I'll do this course, and I'll do that course, and I'll drop out, and I'll do this, and I'll do that. And you think, well, if you're paying for it, if you work with skin and bone, like they used to say, oh, I've worked my fingers to the bone for you kids, you'll appreciate it more. You won't be able to, oh, I'll drop this and I'll do that. Oh, maybe I'll go back to uni. Like, that's privileged.
Yeah.
I think,
absolutely.
But then again, ironically, it was the Labor government that brought in student fees, wasn't it? John Dawkins, they brought it where you had to use a pays. And I thought, well,
he was the treasurer, wasn't he? Oh, no,
Dawkins,
that was Jim.
yeah.
Sorry,
Hawke
no,
government.
that was Jim Cairns. I was thinking of. Sorry, my bad.
Oh yeah, Dawkins was treasurer later on.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I was sort of surprised the Labor government doing it, but they're probably realising then that I think universities used to be Commonwealth funded.
Yeah.
That it's just going to start running out of money, so they're going to start charging for everything, which is why you don't get let off at fines now. It's just instant fine.
Yeah.
There's a whole rotten thing that's going to need money.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm done, mate. How about you? Any final thoughts?
I'm sorry, man, but yeah, like I just feel like potentially this, could go on indefinitely.
Pretty well. I got a bit more to share. Hopefully this is usable to Maureen. It said some pretty outrageous things. I'm glad it was you and I.
Yeah, no, my sympathies are with her. Yeah, I definitely feel for her. She's going to have a hell of a time trying to edit this.
Yeah, it's epic. Nearly 1 o'clock.
Yeah,
well, I'll talk to you soon, Troy.
Yep, no worries, man. Obviously,
Thanks.
Pleasure to talking to you.
See you down the track.
Yep, you too, mate. See ya.
Thanks, mate. Bye.